mute tab, the kick tab. Oh, what's going on? All right. Let me see. Corey's just not responding. I wonder if I should change. I wonder if I should change the UFA banner. I kind of want to. It's kind of too late. The stream's already started. There's like, I want to change the banner. I do. I want to change it. I also just realized I don't have a screen scene for my vertical sources. That's not true. I do, but it's using the wrong camera. And I can't fix it because it's a TikTok live studio source, not an OBS like vertical panel source. So I'm fucked in that regard. Whoops. Okay. Yep. Okay. Boom. Boom. Okay. We are up. We are live. Yeah, I wish I could change. There's so many. Oh, okay. We're gonna start a to-do list. Here we go. Hold on. We're gonna make this. Let's see. For stream. Wait. Hold on. To do for stream. Okay. I know you guys can't see this. Well, I mean, I can make it to where at least the YouTube and Kick viewers could see. Okay. No, but then you get like the double view of like my TikTok live studio panel. That's probably really annoying. All you're missing is the to-do list. That's all anyone's missing. So we're gonna make a to-do list here. You ready? These are all things. If we're gonna do more, like streaming, these need to be changed. Task list. Okay. Number 1 is set up screen. Well, how would I phrase this? How would I phrase this to where I can look at this tomorrow and I will know exactly what I meant today? Set up vertical OBS scene for screen, I guess, or just like for reading. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Set up YouTube Shorts or YouTube vertical, and Instagram Live outputs, and then vertical and wait, hold on, vertical stream overlay, horizontal stream overlay. I know I used to have one. For those of you, if that thought hits your mind, didn't you used to have an overlay when you used to stream daily? Yes, I did. Okay, but it was so unbearably extra. Holy, the colors in my old overlay blinded me, and I'm the one that made it, and even I hated it because I was just the colors were so much. It was too much. It was blinding. So I can't even imagine. I apologize deeply to all of you whom I made look at that for what was it, like 3 straight months every day when I was streaming all the time. Oh, it was such a bad overlay. What's up, UFA Tour? I didn't even know we had a YouTube channel for UFA. Well, I guess that makes sense. It makes sense given the conversations we had. I assume that's Corey on the account. Given what we talked about, like at the airport, you'd have to have a YouTube channel. That makes sense. Okay, tracking. Why are you not on the TikTok? Why are you on the YouTube? That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. It's okay. How's it going, guys? Double tap your screen, like the thing, Just found out about the YouTube. I love your participation in UFA. Thank you. I like being a part of it. It's great. Surprise. What's the surprise? The existence of the YouTube? Let me do this. Bang. We were kind of late to stream today, so there's some stuff that I'm like trying to like last second set up real quick, but you don't gotta worry about that, bro. You don't even have to think about it. Just ignore that. Ignore that any of that is happening. Okay. Bang. Bang. Okay. We're good now. Sorry. We're going to do things to you liberals that have never been done before. We remember Charlie. Good luck, buddy. Our accelerationists, MAGA. I assume you meant accelerationists. And even if you did, that sentence still doesn't really make sense. Are accelerationists MAGA? Maybe. Some MAGA could be accelerationists. My girlfriend thought you were Destiny when she overheard me watching your content. Your girlfriend thought I was Destiny. I think that's a compliment, I think. Maybe. Plan accordingly. I'm planned. I'm planned and accordingly. I'm accordingly planned. I don't know. I think that's a compliment. I did talk to him. I did talk to Steven a little bit on stream earlier. Maybe there might be a conflation going on. If you were watching his stream at that point in time, there might have been like a brain conflation that happened where she heard my voice and then his voice and then his voice and then my voice and then my voice and then his voice and then back and forth, us talking. And maybe now we're one and the same. Maybe her brain fused our voices together. I don't know. What's up, Corey? How art thou on this fine day?
What's up, man? Doing well.
Oh yeah.
Doing well.
I wanted to change the little banner thing, but I ran out of time. I didn't think about it until like right before I started stream.
Can you change it while you're streaming?
Well, I mean, like I'd have to edit the
Restart
text and stuff.
I mean, I can make one for you real quick if you want. It's up to you.
It's fine. I was just gonna make one that like said something about the Comey indictments getting dismissed because I want to fight with MAGA people on that. Literally all I've seen on Twitter all day. My Twitter is just infested with motherfuckers. Just like being fuming with rage over those indictments getting dismissed. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Well, and all the criticisms are so fucking stupid. All the criticisms of it getting dismissed are so dumb. I've heard. So there's like the sect of people that are upset that it was dismissed on like procedural grounds, that it didn't have anything to do with the merit. It was just that Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed. So there, whatever work she's done is null and void. So that includes those two indictments. So there's that, and then there's a secondary notion of like, what would you call it? What would be the word? Like denial over the fact that the case is dead now against Comey. Like there's this like, no, they're gonna re-indict him. No, they're not, because they can't. But he dismissed the case without prejudice. Doesn't matter. Statute of limitations. But there's this section of criminal law that gives prosecutors a grace period if indictment gets dismissed. Doesn't matter. That only applies when the indictment was obtained lawfully, and this one wasn't. So it's like, it's just the cope is crazy. I wanted to fight with people about that. But I don't really know if like how many people have like strong opinions about stuff like that, because you have to like there's a pretty high degree of prereq knowledge you have to even like talk about it and make any sort of sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have a deeper trove of knowledge than most people are going to be able to argue with.
Yeah, I feel like I would have to probably do that with like another content creator that's like a that keeps up with stuff like that. Like I feel like randos don't really keep up with stuff like that like at all. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Other than like the headlines of like, okay, he was indicted. Okay, it was dismissed. Like that's like the extent of the knowledge.
Yeah, if it's past the headline, they have no idea.
Yeah, well, I remember like when those indictments came down, I did a couple days worth of TikTok debates over like the merits of the cases, and it was all like every single person that that like came up to talk about it, I was just getting like regurgitations of Fox News of like well, he lied to Congress. I'm like, okay, tell me what he said that was a lie. And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, I know you don't. Like, who told you? Who told you he lied to Congress? Fox. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. That's about as deep as they go in knowledge.
Yeah, it's sad. Definitely as a rando, it's hard to follow. I follow you for that reason. You're very well read, but explain it pretty well. Oh, speaking of which, I'm glad you said explain it really well, because I just realized that like 30 minutes before I started the stream up, I finished editing a video explaining why that case is not coming back to life, because there's a lot of cope that it like I just said, of people being like, it's gonna come back. So I did a video explaining why that shit is dead as fuck, and I forgot to post it. My bad. Soon.
Incoming.
Bro just quotes Destiny. The irony of you saying that, there's so much irony in you saying that, because Destiny was talking about this exact thing on stream earlier, and he kept saying like he was getting it wrong. So I went on to stream to correct him about like the. So if I was quoting Destiny, then I would be saying the wrong things. It's not that he was wrong. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. That's like a bad way of saying it. He kept getting asked about whether or not the case would ever, about whether or not Comey was going to get reindicted, and he kept saying like probably. Because he was only referencing that criminal statute that gives prosecutors a grace period to like rebring indictments. And I was like, oh, you're kind of like missing a piece of fundamental law here. That is only applicable if the original indictment was obtained lawfully. If it was an unlawful, if the original indictment was unlawful, then it all goes. It's all dog shit. Everything dies. Anyway, get the fuck up here, MAGA people. We don't have to talk about this. I'm just talking about this because I like this shit. I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff. But I fully understand that most people have no idea what's going on in these instances. So if you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. It's all good. All good. But right now I'm just posting this video. Give me 2 seconds, chat. I mean, you don't have to give me 2 seconds. Theoretically, you could request right now, and I'll see it out of the corner of my eye, and I'll come up there and accept it. However, I'll be back in a second or two. While we're waiting on, or while I guess we are waiting on someone to come up, talk to us, man. What's been going on with you? What's going on with the tour? What exciting things do we have in the works?
Well, we will have some exciting news today or tomorrow, which is going to include our lineup, all the special guests that we are going to have coming to our next tour stop on December 20th in Phoenix at the AmFest. We have rented out a bar across the street from the AmFest event, where we are going to be hosting a 6-hour event. There's tickets available on our website. You can click the link in Andrew's bio. You can also help donate to the tour, because of course that's going to help get us to our next stop. We're putting together our 2026 schedule, so keep an eye out for all of that as well. We're trying to do 2 tour stops a month if possible. Trying to also hit the southern states a little bit heavier than the rest of the country, just to see how deep red we can get and how many MAGAs we can get to come out and debate us. So yeah, keep an eye out for all of that information. That should be coming out within the next day or two. So make sure you're following Andrew.
Hell yeah. I happen to be apprised of, I'm sure I don't know everything that's going to get announced in that batch of announcements, but I happen to be apprised of one of the things that is going to be announced, and I must say, I am so fucking hyped. I think you're
like I know what you're talking about.
I think you are aware of what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm so fucking hyped for that one. I was begging for that for like the longest time, so for it to actually be happening, I'm so excited.
Cool. Yeah.
Every time I saw Z, I was like, please just try to make this happen. She was like, we're trying. And then, yes, fucking W. Anyway, announcements for UFA stuff tomorrow, it seems. All right. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, North Carolina, it's possible. We're not really sure exactly where we would go. You know, we try to aim for the larger universities. There is a possibility that we will hit North Carolina, though.
Dope. All the ones that are close to me are always the ones I'm most excited for. Just because I don't have to do if we do it like at North Carolina one, I don't have to fly, and I hate flying. So fucking anytime I don't have to fly, so excited. Like Virginia Tech was my favorite one we've done so far, simply because I got to drive there. If we do North Carolina, I'll drive there too. Basically, if it's like one of the surrounding states, I'm just gonna drive it. I think like
if it's under 5, I usually drive.
Even saying like under, or even saying surrounding states is like a under exagger or like an undersell, because I think like If it's less than like 8 to 10, I'll probably just drive. Like if we did like an Ohio one, like that's far. That's like 9 hours. I'll still drive it. I don't care.
Yeah, that was the trip for me going down to Virginia Tech, about 9 hours.
Yeah. Hells yeah. Okay. What else do we have in there, bro? I've been like, hey, Scratch with the fucking hand heart. Thank you, my boy. Appreciate you. Hells yeah. UFA tour, the right-leaning centrist organization. I feel like... Okay, never mind. That was about to be a ban. Okay, so everything's fine. Yeah, that's like a really, really extremely stupid thing to say. However, I feel like I'm not the right person to combat that because that's probably more like that's probably a semi-accurate description of myself. Whenever that accusation gets made of like it's just a bunch of like centrists and like kind of like or like neoconservatives, I'm like, okay, well, that's stupid and untrue, but I am, so I'm probably not the right person to combat that. But I'm also like, me and Mercedes are probably like the two most right-leaning people in the whole thing. So if like there's two of us that fit that bill and nobody else does, then I feel like you're probably being a moron. If we looked at the entire employee base, every single employee at Amazon, one of them is probably a murderer. Like secretly, it hasn't been caught yet. That doesn't mean Amazon is a company of murderers. You know what I mean? Like that's dumb as fuck. That principle doesn't quite track. I feel like you probably want to go for an average. And I've like people having Scratch and like Anne really balances us out on that average. I like people like that, like Anne. I think like Anne by herself probably counters out me and Mercedes, like to both of us. Just think of her like level of leftism. Same thing with
I think it speaks pretty directly to the fact that we have a mix of people from the left and somewhat the right, I guess you could say, in social circles or other areas. And it just goes to show that we're here to have the conversation with everybody. And it's not really a us versus them, left versus right thing.
Yeah, I suppose. We got 3 bigots and 2 people with basic empathy. I feel like no, this is just this is a feeling that I have. This is intuition only. I have nothing to back this up with. This is pure intuition. I feel like if your base assumption on people's like political views is like if they're anywhere like farther right than you at all, even like an inch, if they're just instantly like racist, I feel like this is a perpetual Trumpism trap. Like if you let that ideology spread too far, this is how you get stuck with like infinite Trumps over and over and over and over and over. He dies and then we just get another one. Because if you have like one entire half of the aisle that's just like, if you're even 1% more to the right than me, if you even slightly want to have Second Amendment rights in this country, you are a bigot. I feel like we're cooked. Trump country's over. Let's just do the Civil War now, right? Let's just do it now. Imagine thinking you can out-talk your actions. Give me one action. Give me one thing I have done, me as an individual that's bigoted, you fucking retard. Give me one. Kill me. I hate these people so much.
Oh, that's our biggest fan, Annabelle. Oh, she loves us.
Annabelle likes you? Oh, she's the perpetual UFA troll.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why didn't you fucking tell me that? You got to tell me these things. When you see people pop up in my chat that are like the perpetual UFA trolls, you got to let me know so I can just ban them. In what universe would I ever have? In what universe would I ever have like the patience to deal with these people? Why ban? Let them up. Those people do not. Those people do not come up. They do not. Those are not the people that are going to come request stuff. Also, I don't want to debate lefties. I have no interest in that. Lefties have no power in this country. Moderate Dems have power. Lefties have no power outside of like New York City. But even like Zoran himself wouldn't act like that. That kind of behavior would like disgust even like someone as far left as Zoran is. I say far left. Zoran's not that far left. Mondani has power. That person in that chat is 7 layers farther left than Zoran will ever be. if you even like, Zoran is about as far left as any American politician is. I mean, yeah. I don't know why he gets so much shit for like, he gets so, well, I mean, he does it to himself, right? Because he calls himself a socialist. It's his own fault then, I guess, huh? What's up?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I support things about Trump that are not illegal.
Have I talked to you before?
Perhaps.
You have
I
like a
don't know.
really familiar voice. But also, that could just be because you have a like a voice tone that's common. I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, you probably do support stuff from Trump that's. Yeah, you probably do support some Trump things that are not illegal. Yeah, it's a bad title. No
Everything
offense,
MAGA
offense,
loves.
Corey.
Okay. All right.
It's a bad title only because like it invites the other person, right? In your spot, it invites the caller to go through all of the things that Trump has done and find something that they can say is decent. That like the tax cuts, right? The tax cuts were done entirely legally, so all you have to do is just go find something like that and be like, well, I like the tax cuts, so boom, premise denied. Like, so you can do that, but. So in terms of like being as accurate as humanly possible, it probably is a bad title. But in terms of just getting a conversation started, so is there what like give me the examples you were gonna give me?
Two genders. I love that. That was one of my favorite things he's done.
That's not where I thought that was gonna go. It's always the tax cuts. That's the example I use because that's what everyone always says. Like, well, the tax cuts weren't illegal, but this is better. In what? Define what, like, tell me what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is bringing common sense back to language. First of all, language is objective. If it's not objective, then nothing means anything.
Sure, give me some give me some concrete actions that he took where you're like, I like that. He did that thing. I like that thing.
He established an executive order that claimed there's two genders and there's nothing more than two genders.
That's like your favorite thing that he's done, or
One of,
like
for
yeah,
sure.
like yeah, like top 5, 10, whatever. You know, like it's in the top.
Socially, yeah. I also appreciate that he put he elected people to overturn Roe v. Wade.
He elected people to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, he pointed to Supreme Court justices that he wanted to
Nominated. That's what you meant.
no-
Okay.
Yeah, I mean semantics, but yes.
Sure. Well, I mean, when you say he elected people, my mind immediately goes to like him backing like House candidates and stuff. And I'm like, well, they had nothing to do with it, so that doesn't make sense. But I see, yeah. So he nominated Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe eventually. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Sure. Give me like one or two more.
Well, economically, I'm a capitalist, and I think a vote for Trump is a vote against Marxism.
Define Marxism.
Economic philosophy of Karl Marx. His end goal is to become a stateless, moneyless society.
Sure. Do you like factor in like the state seizing the means of production somewhere anywhere in there?
Do I factor in the state
Like-
seizing the means of?
Is that something that is indicative of like socialism, communism in your mind? Like when you see calls for the state to basically run what would otherwise be private enterprise, is that something that like spooks you, stands out to you as like a socialist communist thing?
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, I think I could say this probably without any hesitation. Trump is almost certainly the most socialist president we've had in the last 20 years.
He's the most socialist. So he's trying to take the means of production and redistribute it into the hands of the working class.
He's the only president in at least the last 20 years that has gone out of his way, actively acquired for the state percentages of private enterprise.
This was a voluntary exchange.
Trying to phrase that in like the most in the most like straightforward way possible. It doesn't really necessarily matter if it's a voluntary. It doesn't really matter if it's a voluntary exchange.
No, it does matter. Voluntary is the free market. Involuntary is Marxism.
Okay. So you can't. So let me ask this: Can you see any? Can you see any possible way? And I'm only speaking. I'm only saying logically possible, as in it could or couldn't happen. Do you think it is logically possible for the U.S. government to achieve some form of socialism, some version? Might not be your perfect socialist world or some of the lefties in my chat's perfect socialist world, but could some form of socialism be achieved voluntarily?
Yes, it's called co-ops.
Okay.
It's a way you can instead of a C corp or instead of establishing it as an LLC, you can establish it as a co-op, and you can run it as a socialist company. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so it's logically possible that we could achieve some version of socialism in this country voluntarily, but you would still, I presume, now you could just say no, but I presume you'd still be against it.
Not when it's voluntary. If you want to give a percent equity into your employees, that's totally up to you. As long as it's voluntary. My issue is when it becomes involuntary and it's by force.
Okay, what is any like Democrat president done that's like tried to force socialism or communism?
Well, historically, other than FDR with the New Deal, establishing a social safety net, outside of that, Democrats have been capitalists for the most part. But I'm seeing that the Democrat Party, especially with their backing of Mamdani for the, largely backing him, is shifting further left economically.
All right, you're not going to get it from me because I just don't care, quite frankly. But holy shit, the amount of lefties or even moderate Dems in this chat right now that would love to take you to task over that characterization of Mamdani. Not that he's a socialist; he proclaims himself to be. I would fight over whether or not he really is, but the characterization sure, that's I said that. You can't. It's that weird thing where like if I say something and then you just repeat it and then act like you said something profound, it feels weird, So I said that. Secondly, the characterization that I would challenge is the idea that the Democrats like massively backed him or they were like supported him. They didn't back him like almost at all until he won. It was after he won where all the Democrats came in like Mamdani, but before he won, motherfuckers were icing him out hard.
Why would they support a guy that is espousing socialist values?
What is it? What have you heard him say that's like abhorrent?
He's a self-admitted socialist.
Yeah, I could call myself a socialist right now, but if I maintain my economic policies or economic preferences, then it means nothing.
I'll tell you. He claimed that he wants to seize the means of production of private landowners if they're not following the guidelines set forth by the state.
So like, man, why has the word escaped me? Why has it left my fucking brain? We have a method of doing this through our we have a method of legally doing this. Somebody in chat help me. Why the fuck is it left? Eminent domain. Fuck me. Goddamn. So like eminent domain apartments and shit. I did hear you talked about that. Hear him talk about that.
That's seizing the means of production away from the private sector.
Sure.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Why would you disagree with that?
Because first of all, it gives more power to the state, which I'm fundamentally opponent of. I'm a libertarian when it comes to economic policy for the most part. But secondly, they deem the rules, and if you don't follow their more and more strict rules, they can just take property away from landowners. How is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I not a policy I would support. I'm just curious I'm curious how it got in your head that Mamdani is somehow like the best current day representation of the Democratic Party, given that it took him he had to go all the way through with his campaign and win his election for them to even like for them to come over to his side and be like, okay, we like him.
Okay, I'll tell you what. So you said that it wasn't until he won that they backed the man, that the Democrat Party backed him. Let's say that a fascist was running for some city in the United States, a right-wing fascist was running. I guess that was a redundant statement, right-wing fascist, but you get the point. A fascist wins, let's say, and then the Republican Party at large supports that. Wouldn't you say that's an indication that the Republican Party is becoming more fascist if they back this fascist guy after he wins?
So in a hypothetical world, if it were the case that a fascist were to win like office somewhere, let's say like the presidency, let's say, and then the whole party were to coalesce around that person and support them like full-heartedly, back everything they say, everything they do, would I say that the party has become fascist or is on the way? Or yeah, I think I would say that. Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying for the Democrat Party, it's indicative that they're shifting economically further left by backing a man that's a self-admitted socialist.
Sure. And this is a thing that this whole process you've described is a thing that has only happened after Trump has won this term, right? So I don't know. We got here by describing the things you liked about Trump, and it ended up turning into a thing you don't like about the Democratic Party. And your example for how the Democratic Party is like starting to lean more socialist is Mamdani. But that happened post-Trump victory. That couldn't have been a justification in your mind pre-Trump victory, unless you have an example of a person who fits the bill
Kamala Harris was campaigning for a while on Medicare for all. I mean, she's a pretty far left person economically speaking. And I mean, a lot of the reason I voted for Trump is also social policies. But yeah.
Okay. So like your social policy stuff like makes sense when you say that. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like if you not that I agree. I want to clarify. But like when you say those things, I'm like, I totally get where you're coming from. If you believe in XYZ social policy, Trump's going to be your guy. I get it, and we just have to fight on the social policy. Who's right? Who's wrong? We just have to fight there. But your characterizations of the Democrat like economic policy is fucking crazy to me.
I didn't say that they're communists. I'm just saying that
they don't even like lean. So like the reason I bring up Trump accepting, we can both agree that these things were voluntary. But the reason I bring up Trump accepting shares in private enterprise for the government on their behalf, meaning the government now owns some of Intel and some of this company and some of that company, right? The reason I bring that up is because that's the farthest step into socialism we've ever seen, voluntary or not. That's also why I got you to agree that we could establish a socialist system completely voluntarily. That's the furthest step towards socialism the country has ever taken. Even like New Deal stuff, like establishing a social safety net, is a few steps removed from the government actually owning some of private enterprise. So,
well, hold on. A government, the state, can own parts of means of production or outright own means of production. That doesn't equal socialism. It could equal fascism.
I don't think either one of those things that I just described equal socialism. They're just a step in the direction.
No, the government the company voluntarily issuing shares to the government, which that wants to buy it, is not necessarily a step towards socialism at all.
How do you describe? Give me your definition of voluntarily.
The company had an opportunity to issue shares, and they decided voluntarily that yes, we agree upon this decision. It wasn't by force.
Okay. Would you say if I asked you, if I came to you and I said, hey, can I have $20? And you're like, sure, man. You gave me that $20 voluntarily, correct? Mm-hmm. If I came to you and threatened your life, said like, hey, give me $20 or you're dead, you would say you did not. You didn't get, like, you might give me the money, but you didn't do it voluntarily. That's crazy.
Are you arguing taxes or socialism?
Nope.
Then I don't. Then yeah,
it's just an example, or it's not even an example. It's just a question. That's not voluntary, correct?
No, it's not voluntary.
All right. So where we fall with this, with Trump getting some of Intel, I'm just going to use that as an example. I think we're up to like 4 companies now that the government has taken some percentage share in. But Intel's a good example because it was the first one. It shocked everybody. We're somewhere in between those two examples. It wasn't like a, hey, Donald, we would love to give you 15% of Intel Corp. Nor was it, hey, we're going to use the government we're going to use government power to shut down your company if you don't fucking give me 15%, or at what, I think it was 15. Somewhere in the middle there of, hey, these nice juicy regulations that are really fucking you, really in your way, or these nice juicy tariffs that are in your way, I can lower those for you if you give me some of that sweet juicy stock. Is that coercion? Kind of. Is it forced? No. Is it volunteered? No. So we're somewhere in the middle. So I'm trying to pick at your characterization of it's okay if it's voluntary. Where does your line for voluntary end, and where does your line for forced begin?
I'd have to give that some thought. I don't know.
Because if we're going around to companies and saying like, or if CEOs are calling up Trump and they're like, brother, please, god damn, your tariffs are ass fucking my profit margins. You've got to stop. I'll do anything you want. And he's like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I'll drop them right now. 10% of your company.
Is this an accurate
We've gotten into a
representation of what
weird
happened?
world here.
Hold on. Did he reduce tariffs?
No, that's not.
specifically
I'm not. I'm
for
not. I'm
Intel?
not. This isn't. I'm not saying this is
That's just a
I'm not
hypothetical.
reading you a transcript. I'm trying to
Okay,
suss out
fine.
where your lines are here because
I
you
would
seem to
say
have a,
that
you
that
seem to
would-
have a like you seem to have a wavering definition of what's okay or like where coercion and volunteering starts and stops based on who you
Right.
like and who you don't like.
Well, yeah, I hear your question. Yeah, I would suppose that coercion is not voluntary at that point. If that were the case, if that hypothetical were to prove to be true, and he said, "I'm gonna reduce these, extreme tariffs if you give me 10%," it's kind of equivalent to holding a firearm to someone's head.
Well, yeah, it's like, well, I mean, people make the analogy to like the government gun, right? Where it's like they're not actually going to kill you, but they're going to use government power to hurt you in some way, shape, or form, or damage your life, and however,
Yeah, I would say I draw the line there too.
Okay, so if it were the case, I'm just as pure clarification purposes, if it were the case that there was some form of coercion going on to extract those shares of Intel from Intel to the government, you would see that as not okay.
If there was, yes, I mean it depends how do we define coercion here, but yes, if there was coercive means that the government was leveraging the power they had in order to gain shares from Intel, then yeah, I would view that as wrong.
Okay. Man. So then I just have to walk all the way back to my starting position, which is Trump is the most socialist president we've ever had.
Why?
Because there was definitely coercion going on in this fucking in this share giving from Intel.
Again, even if you're arguing that, it would be interesting to argue that he's being socialist for it. You could argue that he's being fascist for it, because I don't think that he leans socialist. He definitely doesn't want the means of production to be redistributed to the employees of the company.
Sure.
I don't think that's what he's arguing for.
Sure. I don't know if Trump would go that far. Although we did just watch him absolutely fucking honeysuckle Zoran in that White House or in that Oval Office meeting the other day.
Oh,
So,
I mean, that's obvious why, though.
well, I mean, yeah, because he's unbelievably easy to manipulate, and Zoran's a very charismatic, charming guy. So
No, come on.
you don't think Trump's easy to manipulate?
No, and I think that that's a very clear-cut case. That's a catalytic example of keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
So you think his glazing of Zoran was purely tactical?
100%. They know that anything Trump supports, they hate.
Anything Trump supports, who hates?
The left.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to parse this out. So is it your view that that Trump was being chummy with Zoran to mindfuck the left into hating Zoran?
I think that's part of the strategy, 100%. Also, Zoran's in a very important position. I don't think Trump wants to make the enemy or make an enemy out of a man that's in the financial capital of the country. I mean, there's part of it where he's not trying to make an enemy of him.
He isn't trying to make an enemy out of him. What was all the shit talking he was doing before?
Well, let's be
election?
clear.
What was all that?
Who flew to who?
Zoran, Trump has the power in this relationship.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
certain because he is the president. But that's not what we're not talking about. That we're talking about the motives behind the behavior. So it's your take that the chumminess that we saw in that meeting the other day was a manipulation tactic towards the left.
Yeah.
And maybe with a secondary motivation of not wanting to be enemies with the mayor of the financial capital of the world. Sure,
That's my belief. Yeah.
but then you'd have to explain the instantaneous personality switch between the infinite shit talk he was lobbing at him literally right before he showed up at the Oval Office to afterwards. Because to me, what that looks like is, okay, so you're shit talking him to no end 5 minutes before he shows up to the meeting, and then after the meeting, pure glaze. That to me feels like, oh, they made friends in the meeting.
I don't think Trump takes any of this stuff personally, just like he was crap talking Ron DeSantis, Marco Rubio. I mean, now look, they suck up to Trump. Look how that turned around.
Yeah, I don't think he takes things personally if you change your tune towards him. Like if
Yeah.
I think he'd be willing to get over anything. I think people meme on like the JD Vance relationship because JD Vance was like one of the first Republicans to outwardly make the Trump Hitler comparison, right?
Yep.
And now he's the vice president. That's crazy to think about. But yeah, if you understand that Trump, as long as you come back crawling, if you come back to him crawling on your knees begging for begging for mercy, he will completely forgive anything you've said or done.
Yep.
But that doesn't. I'm willing to accept that framework because I think we've witnessed that over and over and over. It is just true of him. But that doesn't apply to Zoran. Like Zoran said in that meeting to his face that he believes that he's a fascist, and then he
told
walked,
him to.
and then he
told him
yeah,
to.
exactly. So why would he do? Why would he? We've seen how he handles shit talkers, right? How if you shit talk that man, he will annihilate you. Fucking look at MTG. She didn't even really shit talk him. She's just like, hey, I think we should vote to release these files, and I think it's kind of weird that we're not doing that. And he was like, fucking get her out of here. Like, he lost it. So the idea that he would for a tactical reason, allow Zoran to, like, shit talk him to his face is crazy. There's no shot. Unless he had been charmed, which is my contention.
Right. No, I do think it was a manipulative tactic. I don't think that Trump actually was swayed or swooned by Zoran in that few-hour meeting.
Can we
But I
point
could
to
be
any
wrong.
other example of him doing this? Of him, like, pretending that he likes something that he, like, doesn't really like just to, like, mindfuck the left into hating it? Is there, like, an example we can think of where it's like, oh, Trump went on a whole campaign talking about how he liked X, but he never really liked X. He just wanted the left to start hating X, and then eventually he, like, drops the act? Like, has that ever happened before? Or is this, like, would this be the first time we've ever seen that?
I'm sure there's probably a time, but no, the first person that comes to mind is RFK, but RFK ended up on Trump's cabinet. Look what happened to RFK after Trump endorsed him.
Yeah, I mean, he joined the administration. So I'm trying to make the comparison here. So your contention would be that early on, pre RFK dropping out and joining the Trump team, your contention would be that he was pretending to not like him so that the left wouldn't like, or pretending to. Yeah, I'm confused. Explain that.
We're kind of getting into psychological analysis here, but
Because my contention is that your explanation for the Zoran Trump, like the way they were interacting with each other, your explanation for why their interactions went down the way they did is just, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's a thing like what you're like asserting is a thing that we've never seen Trump ever do. Ever.
It's very possible that Trump might like the guy Zoran. Maybe he actually likes him as a person.
That is my contention. My contention is he went into that meeting. He was like, oh fuck me, I like this guy. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, but the difference is, I don't think that Trump had said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Zoran changed my mind on some issues. I think that's a total lie. I don't think that his mind has been changed at all, an ounce, a fraction from Zoran. I think maybe he might like Zoran as a person, but I think he might think he's a total idiot. There's a tweet of Trump in 2013 or 2014 that says something very similar to this, that some of these people that hate me the most, they can't help that they're stupid.
Okay.
He might just look at this guy like an idiot, but might think that he's an enjoyable person to be around. I don't know.
So, given the facts, given what we have, I'm just going to lay at it. So we have Trump endlessly shit talking him the entire campaign, endlessly shit talking him after the election, all the way up until like right before the meeting, like even like the morning of the meeting, he was still fucking shit talking. Meeting happens, comes out, it's all nice, it's all niceties, and they're chummy, and they're Trump's saying nice things about him, defending him in that press conference. He stepped in between Zoran and reporters a few times to defend him, which was interesting to see. And my explanation for what happened there is I think Zoran's just a charismatic guy, smart guy, nice guy, and I think he made Trump like him throughout their conversation or whatever interaction they had. And your contention would be this is all 4D chess.
Absolutely.
Okay, now here's my question. Give me your peak honesty. Which one of us is really doing the psychoanalyzing mind reading?
I mean, we're both doing it to a degree. I'd say I'm doing it more. I'm seeing that I don't think that Trump is genuinely has his heart changed by this guy in 2 hours.
Okay. All right.
A guy that's a fraction of his age.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a young person, you could be young and just I don't know how much that has to do with anything.
to do with
It just seems
that
very
Trump
clear to
is-
me, given the pattern of behavior here, that he had a preconceived notion about the guy. You know, he's a Democrat. He's a self-proclaimed socialist, and Trump was like, I fucking hate him already. I don't. You know, he just like had this preconceived notion that he was going to hate him, and then he went into that meeting and he was like, damn, this is a cool guy. I like this guy.
Well, let's also keep
This
in
just
mind,
seems
New
like
York,
that's what happened. I don't know.
New York is his home, so you know he probably
Yeah,
also has a soft spot. for him.
True. I bet you that. I bet you. I bet you all it would have taken is Zoran to open that meeting, open up that meeting by hearkening back to something that hits Trump in the nostalgia bone, right? Just be like, oh, you know, like, when was the last time? Maybe there's like, I'm not from New York, so I don't know fucking shit about it. Never been, but maybe there's just like some restaurant that like all the rich people and all the famous people in New York are all always go to, and he's like, oh, when was the last time you were at this place? Oh, I was there last night, it was fucking great, love that place. Like, I feel like that's all it would take with a guy like Trump to completely like 180 his opinion on you, especially being a New Yorker.
Maybe. I don't see it that way. I don't think that in 2 hours Zoran has 180 Trump's position on him. I don't see it. I think Trump is absolutely doing this for a reason. Maybe I'm wrong about the reason, but I don't think that this was a genuine 180-degree change of heart that Trump has towards Zoran.
So there's something in there. There's something you're kind of getting at in there that I agree with, and then there's like a whole part that I think is being like missed. So I would agree with you that I don't think he's like 180'd his positions. Like, I don't think he actually has like holds different political positions now. He's probably remained the same on that. It's more so that his opinion on the man himself has changed enough such that he will give cover where cover is needed, right? We saw a couple times where reporters asked like Zoran hard questions that were like might have been tough to answer. I think like the fascism question, like do you think Trump is a fascist? You know, like you said that in the past. Like, standing here now, do you still believe that? Like, that's a hard question to answer in front of the guy. Like, if for no other reason, just because like I don't know, like he's right here. You want me to shit talk him right to his face? Like, after we just had a good
Look
meeting.
at what Trump did.
And he stepped in. He's like, hey, just say it. It's okay. You can just say it. And he just turns around. He's like, okay, yes. Like. But
It dilutes the term.
That's exactly that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like, that was a moment in which Zoran was in a difficult position where it's like, fuck, I'm gonna have to give the diplomatic answer, and Trump stepped in to just save him. I think you'd only do that with a guy that you like a person, an individual. Now, did he actually change his political positions? No, probably not. I don't know if you could. But in terms of his like opinion on the man, yeah, I think he got him.
Haven't you seen
he got him good.
the video? I think it was at Jimmy Carter's funeral where Trump is sitting next to Obama and they're sitting behind Kamala, and Trump and Obama are chopping it up and laughing with each other.
Yeah. Well, that part I wouldn't. I would always say that. Like, my guess would be like what my guess would have always been that like a lot of the people that he will shit talk. Now there's exceptions. There's people he shit talks where I'm just like, oh no, he hates that person. That's an individual that he like has disdain for. But when it comes to like Obama, Clinton, fucking Kamala, like my guess would be these people can interact with each other like behind the scenes in very friendly manners. Like these people probably interact in a very friendly way with each other when the cameras are off. And if it were the case that that's how it happened with Zoran, like I'll give you like a alternate reality example. If they had that meeting and they did the press conference after, and it was still very adversarial of them, like, going back and forth, kind of sparring with each other, that back and forth adversarial type relationship. And then the meeting ends and Zoran goes back to New York and he does an interview and he's like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, when we were actually, we had there was a lot of contention in the press conference after, but while we were sitting there talking, it was just such a friendly, nice conversation. He was nice to me. It was a friend. That wouldn't shock me at all, because I'd be like, yeah, that's probably how all of these fucking interactions are. They're probably so nice to each other in private, and then when the cameras go on, it's like, all right, time to fight. Unironically, it's like WWE type shit from the guy that was on WWE. My shock isn't any of what I just said. My shock is when the cameras came on, he kept being nice, and that tells me Trump doesn't do that with people that he doesn't really like. So the contention is that he really likes him. Now, he didn't before. Now he does. How did that happen? Zoran's charismatic. He got him.
I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I don't think that happened in that 2 hour that transpired between them. I think that maybe he thinks that he's an all right guy, but I think that him overdoing it, and like defending Zoran in front of the press and saying, yeah, just call me a fascist, that's fine. I think that this is a tactic. I don't think this was just a spur of the moment emotional decision because Trump likes the guy. I don't think that's what it is. I think that this was thought through, and it was intentional, and it was tactful.
Okay. When we do these like psychoanalyzing things with Trump, where we're like, okay, well, I think what's happening here is he's playing some version of like 4D chess. Would you say that?
Like tapping him on the arm.
Yeah. Would you say that if how do I want to phrase this? Would you say that if it were the case that these types of like 4D chess moves that you're describing, if like none of them ever fucking worked, would you say, like, how would you explain that away? You'd be like, so there's like a level of intelligence that comes from trying to do the the trickery, but then there's like a level of stupidity that's shown by the fact that it never works. Like, because in this case,
Yes.
do you really think that him doing that has resulted in like a net negative favorability from leftists towards Zoran? Do you think like there was a bunch of lefties that are now like Zoran haters after seeing him being chummy with Trump?
I wouldn't say that there's a bunch of lefties that are now haters, but I definitely think that there's a bunch of lefties that are perhaps, at least, Trump has planted the seed for them to question if Zoran really truly is this socialist that's going to bring about the change that they voted him in to do. I think that there's absolutely leftists that have put a question mark on Zoran and just step back for a moment to just pause and consider, is Zoran in with Trump or something?
Okay. As
That's a
someone that is
possibility.
in these farther left spaces, well, not farther left because I don't like those fucking people either, but left of center for sure spaces, and I know plenty of people that are Zoran Glazers. What you're describing has absolutely not happened. It's, if anything, is quite the opposite of now. Everyone that I know that is a Zoran Glazer is taking my tact of like, clearly he's a fucking absolute political savage. He's a political fucking gold medalist because he just, whether you want to call it manipulation or whether you want to call it just being charismatic, he's just turned Trump, who was up until a couple days ago a generational hater, into a generational Glazer in that fucking meeting. So if anything, if you're right, I'll just say it like this: if you're correct, and that behavior from Trump was supposed to be some 4D chess move, it backfired in a spectacular way because it just makes Mondani look like a political expert.
Well, for one, I think that Trump diluting the term fascism and making it seem like it doesn't even affect him in the slightest reduces the amount of power that term has. And I think that in that moment, he made the reporter look stupid and he made Mamdani look stupid. Like, yeah, you call me a fascist all you want. It affects me zero because I'm not actually a fascist. But go ahead and call me it. I think it expertly diluted the term. For one.
Do we think that that's a thing that he needs to do?
The president of the United States, that a lot of leftists lobby at him that he's a fascist all the time, or lob at him rather.
Yeah,
that he's
I'm talking about in like the grand scale. Like, what are we, like damn near a year into this term now, or a couple of months shy of a year in? He's been getting called a fascist the whole time.
Well, yeah, but
throughout the first time, and it's never been a thing. It's never been a thing that's ever bothered him. Well, bothered is we'd have to define bothered him, but it's never affected him really too deeply before. He doesn't seem to.
But it ended the life of Charlie, though. So being called a fascist for years, and being painted as a Schnazi, and being painted as the henchman of Trump, who's Hitler, yeah, it got him unalived, and it got Trump
My
almost.
point would be
unalived.
you would have to believe that that the work. If we're saying that he's working to devalue the term, you'd have to believe that hasn't already happened.
I think it's been in. I mean, every time a leftist espouses this opinion that someone like me or someone like someone on the right that's not actually a fascist is a fascist, every single time that it's said, it dilutes the term.
I would agree that when you misuse words, kind of devalues the true meaning of the word. The only contention would be, how do I want to phrase this in a polite way? Fascism has a set of standards, so to speak. Like you can identify in a pretty objective way a fascist, fascist leaning person, and it just so happens to be the case that Trump fits like 95% of the fascist tenets. So we could say, you're diluting the word by calling him a fascist when he's not a fascist. But if he fits the overwhelming majority of the fascist tenets, then I don't know how much you're devaluing a word by just like putting a person in a category that they probably belong in.
How do you define fascist?
Now, when you do it to, I just want to make this caveat real quick before we get into that. When you do it to everyone that supports that person by default, when you say like, I could say Trump's a fascist because he fits this, he does this, and this. But then when you turn around and go, and everyone that supports him is one too, that's where it's like, okay, all right, come on, guys. Not really how that works. Like for instance, like I would never say that every single person that likes Zoran is a socialist. That's kind of stupid. Mainly because
100% would.
So then I don't know. I don't really think you can bitch and moan about the whole fascist thing. Then
Let me ask you this: anyone that supports Hitler, would you call them a schnazi?
anyone that supports him,
Yeah, like admires and supports Hitler. Would you say, yeah, that person's a schnazi?
by the end or by like towards the end of Hitler's reign, yes, I would.
Okay. So if Trump is a fascist,
In
then
like,
people
I'll put it like this: in like 1937, no. In 1944, yes.
You think 37 Hitler was good or something?
No, the point being, when it comes to Trump stuff right now, I think you could very easily find yourself in a world in this country in which all of the things that Trump has done or is doing or wants to do that I would say are fascist. I think you could very easily find yourself in a position where you've never heard of any of that. And people do this thing where they're like, it's all out in the open. It comes from the left a lot. People be like, how could you not know? If you just like go find like a ride or die MAGA like grandpa, right? Just go find like a 75-year-old that's ride or die MAGA and just spend a week examining their media diet. Just see what they watch, see what they read, and then tell me all else the same, given like you didn't already know what you know. If you wiped your mind and then you just enveloped their media diet, you watched what they watched, you read what they read, you would be in the exact same fucking position. All of this is to say is that right now we live in a weird spot in America where I can easily see a person who has no fascist tendencies of their own getting mind fucked by whatever media diet they happen to be on, into being like, he's not a fascist at all. He's never done a fascist thing in his life. And then if you forced them to watch different news or you forced them to read different stuff, then you could unfuck their brain. So that's the reason I don't attribute that same level of like everyone that supports him as a fascist, even if he is one. Because the current media landscape, I can definitely see a world in which you could literally go your whole life without seeing any of that shit. And that's I mean, that's our fault. Like we've allowed our media landscape to become fucked beyond belief. We let this happen, but it's where we are now. The reason I don't attribute that same thing to like 1940s Germany is because it just wasn't the same environment. It was all propaganda, but it was openly fascistic propaganda. So you could be completely bought in to the like Nazi propaganda, and I still would not give you the excuse of like, okay, well now you can't say that you're not a fucking you can't say that you don't support like Nazism or fascism because they're pretty open about what's going on here, versus like Fox News today. They're not saying like, if Trump had it his way, what he would love to do is round up all the people that he doesn't like and prosecute all of them for bullshit charges. Like, they're not saying that. That's not like, if they were saying that, then I wouldn't give this cover. But they're not. They're playing it all off like none of it is what it is. And so I give people a little more cover in America. Now, I probably shouldn't, but I do because I do understand. I've seen some grandpas that have been mind fucked by Fox. I've seen it.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. All right. So last thing here, and then I'll hop out. I appreciate the time. So do you have like an issue with, I'm going to go to social now. It's something I'm a lot more passionate on. But do you
I can
have
tell by your intro, by the first, all of the first few things you said about Trump that you liked were all social stuff. So I kind of got that vibe.
Do you agree with LGBT at all being taught in schools?
Yeah, but there needs to be so much defining happening here.
I'm just talking about LGBT. Like, trans people exist, gay people exist, and that's it. Like, if that was the
that's
limit, yeah, let's just say that's it.
Yeah, I would. Yes, yeah. Are you saying you're not like if a teacher says like if a teacher were to say something like, hey, like, you know, there are people in our society that are gay, like that's a thing, you'd be against that?
Yeah,
Okay, that seems a little insane.
because where's the line? I think that that's a moral issue that should be left to the parents.
I would say
The
I would say the
teacher-
line is when you like start lying, right? If you just say a thing that is true, I don't really think the government should be anywhere near being in the business of telling of policing speech to the point of saying like, hey, you are not allowed, like this thing that you've said is true. It is a factual reality of our world, but you can't say it. Like I don't want the government anywhere near that business. That's crazy.
Don't you think there's factual realities of the world that would be inappropriate for a teacher to teach kids that are like, let's say, 6 years old?
Yeah, 100 bazillion %, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about curriculum here. We're talking like what you described to me was mere acknowledgement. Like I wanted to clarify because I thought no way I'm hearing what you're saying properly. That's why I asked you like, so what is it your contention that if a teacher were to just say like, yeah, some people, like gay people are a thing that exists in the world, like that would be too far for you? And you said yes. So I'm just talking about the mere acknowledgement. If we're saying the mere acknowledgement of factual realities is over your line, your line's fucking nuts.
My line is moral issues should not be discussed in school. That should be left to the parents. I don't think the state should override the moral decisions of the parents.
Sure. However, that's not like that is objectively not what we're talking about. Like it isn't it. It is not what we're talking about to say that like if a teacher says, I'm just going to keep using the same example. We'll stay on this example because it's super grounded. It's super easy to understand. We can both conceptualize it like very easily. This happening in a real world, real life classroom of just like a kid being like, wait, like, are those two girls married? And you'd be like, yeah, gay people exist. That's a thing that exists in the world. Like the teacher saying that in your perfect world, that would be no, not allowed. You're fired now. Explain to me in what way that is like a teacher kind of like grasping control of a moral narrative away from the parents.
First of all, calling them married is an abomination. So it's already morally claiming that those two women can get married, which is a moral consideration. Second of all, the teacher could just easily say,
I would say in that instance, this is going to be super off topic, but it kind of like it proves a point that I was trying to make earlier. Well, I wasn't trying to make it earlier. I was actually defending you, which was funny. This idea of like it's wrong to call people fascistic because it got Charlie Kirk killed, which I would fight that characterization too. But the idea that it's like wrong to do so when you're like gay marriage is an abomination. It's like a pretty openly fascistic thing, given that gay marriage is a protected right in our country. So you're just saying you're just anti-civil rights at that point.
Yeah.
That's a fascistic thing, right? So I would say me saying that you have like fascist tendencies or are a fascist would be entirely justified by your own statements.
I think that
so then I don't see it as a bad thing. I think accurately describing this is the same topic. I think accurately describing the world is okay, and I think accurately describing people is okay. If you're gonna make the argument that like a civil right that we recognize in this country is an abomination and should be and can't be followed, shouldn't be followed, has to go. That's a fascistic take. So you're
okay. Hold on.
I would say you're a little fascist.
If the kid asked the teacher a question about gays or teas or those two girls are kissing or whatever it is, the teacher should just easily say, "Ask your parents. That's not appropriate for me to answer. Go to your parents, not me."
All right, let me see if this goes both ways. Well, you would say right off the bat, I assume that it doesn't go both ways. So you would say I'm going to flip this analogy, and you would say you're going to defend the flipped analogy, right?
If the kid asks a man and woman that are married,
Yeah.
and like anything to do with straight marriage, or just ask your parents.
You would
I
say
don't
you would,
think
you would say the flip if
Yeah,
there
because I
if there was
don't
like some
believe in-
story, if they were reading some book in English class and a kid like was like, wait a minute, are these two characters married? You'd be like, ask your parents.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be principled here, of course. But hold on. With that, I mean, because a lot of leftists will say the only thing we're teaching the kids is that trans people exist. Obviously, it's more than that. That's why I'm just saying that gay and trans people exist is even a line I'm willing to draw. That shouldn't be taught. But I'm against sex education to kids from kids or from adults in school. I think that's wrong.
So you don't. There shouldn't be sex ed at all.
Not at all. No.
Okay.
Why should this stranger be telling children about their genitalia? Leave that to the parents.
What do you do in like a world where the parents just don't do it?
Have a legal guardian, and if the legal guardian doesn't do it, well, it's not the state's decision, because at that point we're shifting burden for the state to override and say what morally and sexually kids should be believing, and I think that's wrong.
This is this is going to be the entire base of whatever disagreement we have is going to be on. You would conflate describing. You're like making like a vital or a fatal conflation here between describing actual realities of the actual world with pushing like a moral narrative. Like I would say like saying, hey, straight people are a thing that exists in the world. I've just described the real world. If I say, hey, gay people are a thing that exists in the world, I've just described the real world. Now, if you want to say like, hey, you should be, it is the correct sexual orientation to be gay. Now you're like making a moral argument, you're pushing a moral narrative, whatever. So that like we would find some form of common ground there, maybe. But on the your assertion that like just describing the world accurately is somehow.
What class would this even be taught in that they exist? Math class?
I think I gave you like the prime example, right?
If a kid asks the teacher, those two women that are kissing, are they married? The teacher should respond in that moment. Ask your parents. That's not appropriate for me to respond.
Sure. I mean, that's your contention. We've already gone over that. I'm arguing against that by saying I don't think it's wrong. Again, I'll say it again. I don't see how it could possibly be wrong to accurately describe the world. I would need you to make some argument why it is wrong to do so.
Well, because you said that it's just a factual description of something that exists in the world. Well, so is bestiality. That's a factual thing that happens in the world. That doesn't mean that it's appropriate for a teacher to tell children that adults that have intercourse with animals exist. Because if the teacher says, yeah, gay people exist, the kids are going to ask, what does it mean to be gay? They don't even know what that word means.
Sure.
So the sexual act is going to have to be described. If you want me to spell it out, that's the problem. If the teacher says, "Oh yeah, trans people exist," oh okay, the kids are going to ask and raise their hand. What is a trans person? What does that even mean? I've never heard that term before. So that's when it starts to pervert these kids' brains. It should not be taught by the teacher. It should be left to the parents.
In which case, like, if that was your position, the reason I would have a hard time I would have a hard time even like getting into this conversation with you is because if that was your line, like there's a actual conversation that could be had there. There's like a real conversation we could have about like what's okay and what's not okay for like teachers to teach kids. Like that's totally a valid conversation. The problem is that's not actually where your opinion lies. Your opinion doesn't lie in like the it would be wrong for a teacher to like teach the specifics, the ins and outs of like transgenderism or like homosexuality. Like the teacher shouldn't be teaching these things. We could have that conversation, but that's not the conversation that needs to be had here because that's not your real opinion. Your real opinion is like gay people just shouldn't exist. That's your actual opinion. So like, that's probably where we need to have the.
That's not my opinion.
That's where the conversation should start. Okay. Let's put it this way. I don't think you would say that. I don't think you would say gay people shouldn't exist. I think you've already said that gay marriage shouldn't be a thing. Any mention of homosexuality being a thing that exists in the world happening in a school should be outlawed. Those are positions you have that I would rather fight on than the like actual.
Well, because if the teacher says,
actual like law or rules involved here.
Because you're making it seem like the teacher's just innocently professing this factual reality that trans people exist. Well, the kids have never even heard this term trans. So the kid is going to ask, what is it? What does that mean, trans? At that point, the teacher does have to explain what that means. And that's extremely inappropriate.
Why? Why does the teacher have to explain what that means?
The kids don't know. You're saying the teacher's just innocently professing that trans people exist. Okay, the kids have no idea what a trans person is because they're 5 years old.
Sure.
Okay, so then the teacher is going to explain to them when the kid asks, "What is a trans person? Why are you telling them that that they exist? What does that even mean?"
Why would they?
You think the teacher's not going to explain what a trans person is?
Yeah, why would they?
Oh, so the teacher's just randomly blurting out, "Trans people exist, children." Like, why? Why would the teacher say that?
No, in response to the secondary question. The primary question might be like, "Hey, what's up with that person?" You could be like, "Oh, they're trans." And then the
Yeah, and the
secondary,
kid is gonna ask, what does that
that's
mean?
what I'm saying. And then response to the secondary question of like, "Wait, what is that word you just used?"
Yeah.
What's the like? What is forcing the teacher to respond to that other than just saying like, "I don't know, ask your parents."
What would force the teacher to say that they were trans?
The accurate description of the world. That's what I'm kind of
Okay,
getting
but the
at.
kid doesn't know what the hell that means. So you think the teacher's going to stop there and be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to explain to you what trans."
I don't know.
means,
This is
so."
a hypothetical teacher that you and I made up
You
here
think
in
the
this
teacher's
conversation.
just teasing the children? So like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to just tell you this term," but then when you
I'm
ask me
trying
what the
to.
term
I don't. I don't know if you've realized that. I'm trying to tease out where your actual line is, just like with the socialism thing. Where are you actually drawing the line here?
I'm drawing the line is don't speak about LGBT to children at
Yeah,
all.
and then
In schools,
and then
in schools,
sure,
in schools.
sure. And then my secondary question would be, why?
I because you're going to pervert their brains. That's why you're going to pervert their brains at an age that's too young, and you're going to instruct. Because basically, the teacher's going to explain like this is some normal phenomena that happens, and it's not. It's abnormal. It's
What's
wrong.
you said you used like a normatively loaded word in there. Too young. What is too young in your mind?
Anything under the age of 18 is too young for a teacher to be prescribing moral realities of the world to children.
Well, I wouldn't say. Yeah, I would. I don't know if I don't know how much of a fight I would give you on that characterization. Prescribing like if a teacher were trying to prescribe morality to their students, and by that I mean saying like this is the right thing, and if you don't agree with that, then you are a bad person. I actually I don't really think I would fight you too hard on that. I don't think a teacher should be in that business of saying like this is what's right, and if you disagree, you're bad. That's probably too far for a teacher. But that's not what we're talking about. Again, I'm going to keep saying this is not what we are talking about. We're not talking about prescribing morality because then I don't know how much I would fight you. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay, but your point is that there are factual realities of the world. Okay, people that have adults that have intercourse with animals exist in the world. Do you think it would be appropriate for a teacher to tell 5-year-old children in their classroom that adults that have intercourse with animals exist, and or they're called, bestiality? That's a factual reality of the
Sure.
world. Do you think it would be appropriate to teach children that from a teacher?
This is kind of where I've been trying to get to with you. My question then, in that scenario,
Yeah, it's a yes or no, though.
so I would say yes. Let me tell you why. Do not interrupt me. God damn it. The reason I would say that's weird isn't necessarily because of the actual act, the like saying like this. I mean, hey, some people do this thing. This is the thing that some human beings do. I don't think that's the weird part. I think the weird part is how the fuck did this come up? How did we get here? How did we get to a position where a 5-year-old, you said 5, like how did we get to the point where a 5-year-old is asking their teacher this fucking question? That's crazy. When it comes to
No, it's not.
it's crazy.
No.
You wouldn't say that's crazy?
No, I'm not. Hold on. There's a lot of twisting of my logic and twisting of my words. You said that a kid could ask the teacher, "Why are those two women holding hands and kissing?" Right?
Yep.
And then that's when the teacher would respond, "Oh, because they're gay and they're married women." The teacher should not say that. The teacher should say, "That's a question for your parents. I'm your math teacher. That's not appropriate for me to answer."
Why would this be coming up in math class?
Or whatever the teacher is, it could be their science teacher or whoever the teacher is. I'm just saying, just because they are an authority figure, because they're an adult in the room, doesn't mean that they should answer every question the kids ask them. They should point the kid back to their parents or their legal guardian. Ask that question to your parents. It's not appropriate for me as your teacher to answer.
Okay. I'm gonna try
That's my point.
I'm gonna try to go down my original line again. The reason I'm gonna say this, I know you're gonna be so tempted. Don't do it. Let me just explain my whole line of thought here. The reason, with the example you gave, the reason I would find that situation unacceptable is because immediately my mind would go to how the fuck in like a fifth, like what you said 5-year-old. So what are we talking, like first grade? Like that's insane. So let's bump it up so it can be more believable. Let's say we're talking about like 10-year-olds here. In what universe would the concept of bestiality ever come up in a classroom filled with 10-year-olds? It just wouldn't. But if we're talking about kids in school like reading some story that happens to feature like a gay character, and they're like, "Hey, are these like what's going on with these two? What the fuck what's this?" And you'd be like, "They're gay." That I can totally get. I absolutely see how that scenario arises. Where in the first scenario, I'm like, how did we get here? What happened? That's my point. I don't necessarily take issue. I would say like I'm staying consistent with the principle of like I don't really have an issue with like an adult person saying to a child like a statement that is just absolutely true about the world. If we could say like people do this sometimes, this is a thing that people do occasionally. I'm cool with that in pretty much all circumstances. Even if it's like a fucking horrible thing, like even if it's like a terrible horrible thing. But my contention would be the terrible horrible things just shouldn't be coming up at all in any way in which you would face a position where a kid might ask the question. Like you could say, like you could easily find yourself in a world where say like let me try to think of a good book, like Romeo and Juliet, right? They kill themselves at the end of that book. Like you could have a world in which maybe this might be a little advanced. I don't know what grade level you usually read something like that in, but you could have a world in which like 13, 14-year-olds read that story, and then at the end they're asking what happened here at the end, like. And the teacher, like, I would have no issue with the teacher being like, they committed suicide. They both killed themselves. Like we're talking about a question of morality. Suicide's this is a moral quandary of whether or not it's ever okay to do or not. But it's fine. It's okay because I totally understand how it came up in conversation. In that case, the teacher would just be describing a factual reality. That's fine. I don't care. I don't really see the issues here.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. Yeah, in that case, I wouldn't have an issue with the teacher describing that if they're reading Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, because it's not because it's not gay people. I've been trying to dig at this with you. It's you just don't like gay people. That's what's happening here.
I didn't interrupt.
Okay, go ahead. You tell me why that's okay and the other one's not. Go ahead.
No, I think it's a good analogy. I concede that to you. I think that at a certain age, I think it's pretty safe to assume when the kids are like 16 or 17, 15, just to be, rational here. I think it's safe to assume that those children, teenagers, they've learned from probably their parents, friends, the internet, what gay people and what trans people are. Okay, so at that point, a teacher can just offhandedly say like, oh yeah, no, that was a gay couple in the book. And whatever story we were reading, and just leave it at that. I don't have an issue with that, just to kind of, be rational here. What I'm talking about is like 9, 8, 7, 10, 11 years old. If the teacher has an opportunity to talk about trans or gay people, just don't, and point to the parents and say, go ask your parents. It's not appropriate for me to talk about with you.
Sure. I'm confused. I guess I'd have one... I need one point of clarification, or I have one point where I need clarification. A couple of minutes ago, I asked you what your age line was because you said you used too young in a sentence, and I said, "Where's your line for too young?" You said 18, and now you're saying you changed your tune. What happened there? Now you're saying like you wouldn't if it was like a 14, 15, 16-year-old, you'd be like, it's fine. But you said 18 before. What happened?
Because I'm being realistic that by the time they reach 15, 16, 17 years old, they've most likely learned what a gay person is or trans person from the internet, from their parents, from their friends. So I think that, I'm just, it's an arbitrary number, but I think by that age, they probably know what those terms mean.
Yeah. Okay. I would say all of this ultimately comes down to arbitrary numbers.
This whole thing is a slippery slope. This whole thing is a very slippery slope. Because when these kids are 7 years old and this authority figure, their teacher, is explaining to them what a trans person is, I think it's extremely inappropriate because almost every time they're going to explain why these people are normal and everything's fine with it. And I think all of that's inappropriate.
The thing is, I don't even think we would fight on the specifics. My qualm with you is the moral loading. If the reason I'm trying to get you up to say, I'm trying to get you to really truly describe to me what your true line is, because you could say like, hey, if it's like a 16-year-old, if we're talking about fucking sophomore English class, I'm gonna let it slide, man. I don't care. But then you immediately hop back to like, but if it's a fucking 7-year-old, like I'm like, yeah. But the thing is, I would probably just agree.
Not that I don't care.
I would probably just fucking agree with you in that case. If we're talking like 6-year-olds, I would be like, yeah, what the fuck are we talking, brother? What's 2 plus 2? That's what they should.
These teachers are not just simply saying, oh yeah, no, gay people exist, and they leave it at that. They instruct these kids that this is a normal lifestyle and it's healthy and it's fine. They don't just stop.
And if we're talking about like again, this comes down to like the moral loading you're trying to do. If we're talking about like a 6-year-old, then yeah, I'm with you. But the problem is we can't drill down on anything here because the conversation always moves to like whatever sounds, whatever like helps you do your moral loading the best.
Okay. Do you think that teachers should be able to teach the Ten Commandments in public school?
Define teach. I know that's going to sound hyper pedantic to you, but my answer is yes in some scenarios and no in some other ones. So define what you mean by teach.
Tell the kids what the Ten Commandments in the Bible are, and make and not say that it's negative, and just keep it either neutral or positive. They speak either neutral or positive about it.
Yeah.
They should be able to teach the Ten Commandments to kids in school then.
Yes.
Even if they speak positively about it and say that this is a sound moral system to adhere to.
Sure. This again is going to be hyper specific whether I take issue with it or not. Because I would also agree. I would agree with that statement if you phrase it like that. There's ways in which you could phrase that same sentiment that are going to be like super prejudicial towards children of to the point where it could be considered manipulative. But if you just say like the Christian moral worldview is a fine like moral system to adhere to, like but the thing is that's just true.
That's true.
Yeah, the base layer, like Christian worldview is think about the Ten Commandments. Think about each one. Like go through each Ten Commandment and tell me like where you can find. Like you seem like you're probably a religious person, so I don't know if you'd be able to do this. But like even like an atheist person, like I would if I looked at the Ten Commandments and I went through each one by one, I would probably have a hard time telling describing a moral wrong with any of them. Shit, I haven't looked at the Ten Commandments in a long time. Let me look at them and just see if I can think of why one of them is morally not okay. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. This one would be a little weird for like non-religious children, but if you're a kid and you're a Christian, like this is you just accept this immediately. And if you're not, you just be like, yeah, well, I don't believe in you at all, so whatever. So I don't see any moral wrong here because you either believe or you don't. You shall not make yourself an idol. There's no moral wrong there. That's probably a good thing to adhere to. You shall not take the name of your Lord, the name of the Lord your God in vain. This is probably okay too, especially if you're a religious person. You shouldn't. If you're not, you already don't believe in Him at all. So why wouldn't affect your life in any way, shape, or form. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Again, if you are religious, you are already doing this. If you're not, this affects your life zero. Honor your father and your mother. You should do this. This is a good thing to do. You shall not murder. Obviously. You shall not commit adultery. Obviously. You shall not steal. Obviously. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Obviously. You shall not covet. Obviously. Just like this is the point I'm making. Like if you just look at the Ten Commandments, on their own, the ones that are specific to Christianity, you're going to run into an issue where you either do believe in God, and then those are completely relevant to you, and you're probably already doing those things, or you don't believe in God, and they all of a sudden are entirely irrelevant to your life because you're like, well, I am your only God. Well, I don't believe in you at all, so don't care about that at all. But then when we get into like actual prescriptive like measures of you should not murder, you should not commit adultery, like these are things where I cannot find a moral wrong in any of these things. So yes, to answer your question, you can say like the Christian system of morality is a sound system of morality, and I'm using sound. I am using sound in the actual philosophical context of like these things make sense. These are not things that can be easily picked apart. They make sense.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
my qualm. Same thing with like the LGBT stuff. My qualm would be when you get into prescriptions. When you start saying this is what you should be. When I have kids, if one of their teachers ever said like you should be a Christian, like I'm gonna be like I will be at the school board like demanding them be fired. Same thing if it's like if I ever heard like a teacher. To be fair to your side of this, like if my kid came home and was like, my teacher said that like it's like I should be gay. I should be. Like they thought it was weird that I'm not. Like it's the morally correct thing to do to be gay. Like I would be in the same position. I'd be like, well that motherfucker's got to go. But it's the same thing with Christianity. If they were like, you should be a Christian. Why aren't you a Christian? I'd be like, oh, you got to go, bro. You can't work here. You got to go.
Telling them that they should be gay is, almost never happened.
Sure, but this is what I'm saying. My qualm is prescriptive. When we start getting into prescriptions, that's where I become a hater.
Your kid comes home and says,
a hater. That's funny.
Your kid comes home and says, well, my teacher picked up that I was acting a bit feminine, and I said, your kid is telling you, well, I kind of just, I don't know, I'm kind of confused. Maybe I feel like a girl sometimes. I see the way the girls dress. I want to dress that way. And my teacher told me, you should go on hormone blockers, or you should at least go to a doctor. And I think you need hormone blockers.
Yeah, it's prescriptive. It's bad.
Yeah.
Teacher,
Bad.
I don't think teachers should be prescriptive. My like, if you let's say I'm not a teacher, but let's say you put me in that position. You put me in the position where the kid said that to me. Like my instant what do you call it? Intuition would be to, okay, we're not going to be affirmative here, or nor are we going to be detrimental, or we're not going to I'm not going to take away from whatever this kid's saying, nor am I going to add to it. I'm just going to be like, oh, okay, and then I'm just going to be like, all right, we got to go call this kid's parents.
That's very fair.
Sure,
Okay.
because again, like I have it. Like the reason I was trying to dig it where you draw your lines is because I know where my line is. My line is at prescriptions. I don't want teachers being prescriptive in any way, shape, or form. I don't want a teacher ever saying to a kid like, "This is how you should do," or "This is what you should do. This is how you should be. This is how you should act. This is what you should believe." I don't like that. Let them fucking get there on their own. They will eventually. And that's why like this is why I have an issue with your thing of like, well, it shouldn't even be allowed to be mentioned. I'm like, why? This is they exist. That's what teachers are there to do. They're there to teach. But then again, it needs to be that sentence. What I just said, I need you to understand that when I say that, I am always going to be speaking contextually. I'm always going to be examining the context of a situation, because you always want it, over and over, you want to hop back to like 7-year-olds. And I'm like, yeah, in that case, it would be probably fucking weird a little bit wonky. But if it's like a 14-year-old reading a fucking book and they're like, wait, are these characters like romantically involved with each other? And the teacher's like, yeah, they're gay. Like, if you think that's bad, I think it's delusion. I think you live in a fantasy world. I think that's delusion to think that that's a bad thing to do. We're just describing the world here. It's okay. We can do that.
I hear you. Yeah, you draw the line contextually to prescriptive claims from the teacher. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, it's in the fucking name. It's in the name, right? They're a teacher. They're supposed to teach what is real, and like what occurs in the real world. What is the thing that happened? Your history teacher teaches you what happened. Your math teacher teaches you how math works. Your science teacher teaches you how science works. Like these are okay things to do. And so if your English teacher is telling you that there are gay people, that's okay. If your history teacher is telling you that there was, I'm trying to think of like some other big moral qualm in the world. Like if your history teacher is telling you, I don't. Oh, here's a good example. Yeah, if your teacher's, like when I was in high school and I took government, like I had to learn about fucking like Roe v. Wade and all that shit. Like you have to do these things, and it's okay. It should be okay. Like we gotta teach these fucking kids about the real world.
How would you explain the explosion of the population size of gay people and trans people in the last 20 years?
I think this is twofold. I think it's become there. I don't know, and I really don't think you can fucking measure how the rate or the actual rate of change of people that are gay. I don't know if you can. I don't know if that's a measurable thing. You can definitely measure the amount of people that will tell you they are. But then that gets into a whole separate question of what do you actually, when you're measuring that variable or that number, what are you actually measuring there? All you're actually measuring when you are looking at the amount of people that will openly tell you that they're gay is the societal feeling of acceptance of like, can I say, is this a thing I could say out loud without getting like killed or beaten up or just infinitely hated against by or infinitely hated on? So I don't know how valuable that number is. When we say that, we say like, look at this huge explosion of people that are gay. I don't know how valuable that number is because all we're actually measuring is the amount of people that are willing to say that they are. It could be the case that the number actually hasn't changed that much at all. What we're actually looking at is society will. We live in a society now in which you can say that and you're not going to get killed for it. Secondly, the category has expanded massively to where at this point I don't even know what we're measuring. When we look at these surveys, right, and we see like what percentage of the population would identify as LGBT in some way, shape, or form. I don't even know what the fuck that means anymore. I don't know what we're measuring because I'm sure that you've experienced this in some way, shape, or form in your life, where you'll find like a girl or a guy, you'll find like a person that'll be like, I'm bisexual. And you're like, oh, like, what have your last 10 relationships been? And say, in this case, it's a girl. They'll be like, oh, my last, 10 relationships were all guys. I'm like, okay, shut the fuck up. Same thing with, in the reverse, like, with guys, right? So when we say, like, the percentage of the population that identifies as LGBT. I don't know what that means anymore. We've expanded this category such that I think it's meaningless at a certain point.
Okay, I hear you. Do you think at all, though, that a kid can be influenced by an adult into believing things about themselves that they wouldn't have if they were not influenced to believe in those things about themselves?
This is kind of a useless question because the answer is obviously yes.
Okay, let me be more specific.
You can be influenced. Like if it were the case, like if I were to have a kid, now, I can raise them such that I can all but guarantee. I say all but guarantee. Like I could say I can within like within a margin of like 95%, I can make my kid gay if I want it. Like I could raise them and they will be gay.
You think you can do that?
You can yes, absolutely. You can psychologically imprint stuff onto people.
Oh, that's
you can
such an interesting.
Do you understand like how fragile and how fragile is not the right word? Do you understand how elastic our psychology is?
Yeah, and how malleable kids' brains are.
Yep, humans we're super malleable. Our brains are super elastic. You can
Okay, so hold on, just to make sure I
mind fuck
understand.
anyone into doing anything.
You think that children can be influenced into being attracted to the same sex, or perhaps even being influenced to change their believe that they're the other gender? They can be influenced into believing those things.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
This is another category issue where like you're creating category issues. Define children.
If from birth this child is just raised with this belief that this boy is going to be a girl and
Did
or
you say you
this
said
boy,
I'm so sorry. I actually I'm not even bullshitting you. I missed it. Did you say from birth? I thought I heard you say that.
yeah, I'm just saying from as early as they can start, understanding things, as early as they can start comprehending and be influenced, which I think does start at birth. They can understand social cues.
Yeah, I mean, everything you learn in like early childhood.
Right.
Like,
So my question is this:
all you're doing is copying what your like things in your environment, right?
this kid can be influenced and be to grow up to be attracted to the same sex, and this kid and or could be influenced to believing they're another gender.
All people can be influenced to do all things.
Listen, bro, that's quite the olive branch you just extended there. I don't think many people on your side are gonna.
This is just a like basic tenet of psychology. If it is
Well,
the
it shows that
if
teachers
it is
can
the
influence
case,
these children.
no. The
Teachers
reason I
can
asked you,
influence these
the reason
children.
I asked you about categories, the reason I said like when we say child, what are we actually talking about? Is because when we get to the point, if you raise a child
Let's say under
from
8
birth,
years old. Under 8 years old.
sure, there's some
Let's
level
just-
of influencing that can be done, but it happens on both
Yeah.
sides, right? So if it is the case that you have like this huge influence one way, you could have the opposite influence the other way.
Yes,
we don't
you
really
can,
know.
yeah.
We don't really know how that person's going to turn out. The reason I will grant that is
Yeah.
because if we do some now this would be you could never do this because this would be unbelievably immoral. But just saying, if you raise a kid, like let's say you have a baby boy and you raise them from birth and you bury them in all of the classical feminine stereotypes, you like raise them, you have a baby boy and you raise them as a girl, you're going to end up with a very feminine boy. That's what you're going to have that. So yes, we can influence children, but it's
we could
because
feminize boys.
It's because we copy our environments, right? So if you're raised as a girl, if you're treated as a girl all the time, you're given all the classically feminine things. You're only given dolls as a baby. Your room is pink, and all the feminine, typically feminine associated things. But it's a baby boy. You're gonna get a feminine ass boy. It's gonna happen.
Using that logic, though,
how we
using that logic,
Yep.
couldn't it be a point to say that perhaps there's a lot of teachers feminizing young boys in school or teaching them that being attracted to the same sex is normal, and maybe even going forward and saying, yeah, I think it's fine if you are attracted to Jimmy in class. Don't you think that could be a point to explain why there's this explosion in Gen Z being the gayest generation of all time?
No,
No?
I don't think we can conclude that.
No, I'm
That's
not
what
saying
you
you can
asked.
conclude it absolutely, but
Are you asking,
can
is it
see
logically
how-
possible?
Yes.
It's logically possible, but I would fight the characterization. I don't think that's what's occurring.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Do you understand like the gap between logically possible and this is happening is like Grand Canyon sized?
I do see how it could be grand
Like it's
canyon.
logically possible that Donald Trump is secretly a serial killer, and he's got like a 90-person body count right now. But if I were to make that conclusion, you would think I'm fucking nuts, and I probably sure I would be, but it's logically possible. So me granting that it's logically possible that you could have some like tacit effort to feminize all these little boys. You could.
Yeah.
You could do it, but I'm not. That's not happening. This is not a thing that's occurring.
Well, I mean, scientifically, it is happening. Boys' testosterone is lower than it's ever been. Boys are gayer than they've ever been, and more feminine than they've ever
This
been.
is the exact like conversation we had about category error, right? When we say there's like more gay people than there's ever been. Like I wouldn't fight the factual reality. I would fight the characterization of like, well, what does that mean when we take these measurements? What are we actually measuring? We've already had the conversation. And then what was that thing? Oh, like testosterone levels. Yeah, testosterone levels have dipped, but like we can't assign that to a particular thing. Be like, well, it must be the teachers. There's a bazillion things that could be. Just you're making like the RFK mistake, right? Of like autism rates have increased in the last 20 years. It must be the vaccines. You're like testosterone is lower.
There's
in the last
obviously
20 years.
a push.
It must be the teachers. Who fucking knows, man? Could be a lot of things.
There's been a big push to redefine what masculinity looks like. Even deeming it toxic masculinity, saying that, there's just been a big push to reshape what masculinity is supposed to look like.
Sure, and you should but I would agree. Like again, this is another thing where like, depending on the specifics, depending on like what we're actually talking about, this is such a broad category. But depending on like the specifics, I don't think we would even have a disagreement. Like when things are, I think there are things that are toxically masculine, things that are like masculine traits that are bad, that should be like. Here's it's easier to ground everything out in examples because when we talk in generalities, it just gets nebulous and fucking meaningless. Something that's like toxically masculine, I think, is the concept that men are supposed to not show any emotion and just like kind of keep it all inside, right? Like it's like a toxically masculine trait. That's like suppressing emotions is a thing that's typically associated with men. It's bad. You shouldn't do that. It is extremely unhealthy and bad for you. And so that's the thing that I would describe as toxically masculine. When I say toxically masculine, all I'm saying is a thing that is not good. It is like overall bad, and it is typically associated with males. But my guess would be that's not what you're talking about. My guess would be you're leaning more into the like notion that things that are actually completely normal get labeled as toxically masculine. My guess, right?
No, even that one as well. I don't think that that's toxic. I think a man should not just be reacting to every emotion that he feels and cry whenever he feels
that what I said?
crying. No, you said that suppressing.
Yeah, you shouldn't suppress your emotions though.
I don't think you should be suppressing them either. Agree, but I don't think you should be.
But that's what I said. So then you saying like no, even what you said, I think it doesn't make sense. But then
no, I agree with the suppressing.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't agree that a man should be expressing his emotions openly.
What does that mean?
All the time.
What do you mean when you say that? Yeah, all the time. Yeah, of course. I don't think anyone should be expressing their emotions all the time. There's times where it's really inappropriate, and you really fucking shouldn't, no matter what you feel.
Yeah.
There's times where like we can both agree anger is an emotion, correct? Mm-hmm. Like if you're like in a meeting with your boss and he says some fucking dumb fuck shit and it really pisses you off and you get really mad, I think you should suppress your emotions in that particular instance, right? Because there are times where it is wholly inappropriate to express the emotion you feel. But I would agree with you. This just comes back to we need to talk about specifics.
I would say process the emotion. You can have an internal dialogue and acknowledge why you're upset. Like, yeah, I'm upset, but I'm going to choose not to react.
Sure. This is what you're describing is an entirely normal. Yes, this is an entirely normal thing. This is how you should behave. You should process your emotions properly, and you should express them when it's appropriate to do so, and not express them when it is not appropriate to do so.
Yeah, I just disagree with the
agreeing.
label called toxic masculinity. I don't.
You might disagree with the label, but the problem is like, well, then when we define the label, I define the label, right? Things that are typically associated with masculinity or men or males that are unhealthy or bad or not good for society. Like when we like put an actual definition to the label, I don't really know. You'd have to fight the definition. You'd have to say like, I don't even know how you could disagree if that's how I'm defining the label. How would you even disagree with that? You'd have to say like there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a thing that is associated with males that is bad. Like,
Well, it would be like me saying, what if I defined for you toxic black culture? You'd be like, whoa, hold on. I don't think you should be
I wouldn't at all.
generalizing
Not even a little
the
bit.
black community.
Nope, I would completely agree.
You would agree that with what?
That is a category you could create, and you could assign a definition to that category. You could say like toxic. There's all sorts of toxicities within particular cultures. There's toxic white culture, toxic black culture, toxic Indian culture, whatever the fuck. And you can do this all the live long day. My fight with you would always be on the specifics, right? You could say there's this thing that I call toxic black culture, and what this is these are acts or behaviors that are typically associated with. If you want to like specify and say like only in America, right? So if you want to say these are things that are typically associated with African American culture that are negative and bad for society or bad for the individual, blah 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 blah, whatever the fuck. Like we can have that conversation, and you could be right about some things that you place in that category, and I could agree with you on the category. But the problem is, you can't do that if you're speaking in huge, vague generalities, right? If you were to say, I think an aspect of toxic like black culture is single motherhood. I would be like, yeah, the single motherhood rate in African American culture is high as a motherfucker, and it shouldn't be. It's bad. It's not good for society that it is. But if you want to say if you want to say something like that's toxic black culture is like violence, then we'd have to fight on that because I'd be like, well, no, because it's not applicable or it's not like overrepresented in the specific category such that I would find it to be like hyper specific to the category, right? There are things that are toxically masculine that men do a lot that women barely do. Like the whole like bottling up your emotions and then having a rage outburst. That's a thing men do. Women don't really do that shit too much. Mainly because they'll just show their emotions all the fucking time, so it's all out in the open. Those things are okay to talk about. We can say like this is a toxically masculine thing. But if you were to say something that's toxically masculine is violence. I'll use the same example I was using with like black culture, right? If you want to say like violence is toxically masculine, we're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to fight on. I wouldn't accept that characterization at all. Like, hold on, violence is not a male exclusive thing at all. Not even like remotely. We just violence gets expressed differently, therefore it gets measured differently. There's some violent motherfucking women, and violence is pretty prevalent within women just as much as, or not just as much, but violence is plenty prevalent within women. It just manifests differently. We tend to like murder people or beat people up. Women tend to fucking attack people and hit people. We have more, what would you call it? We have more capacity to do damage, so it comes out differently, right? Motherfuckers die when we have like violent outbursts. People don't really die when women have violent outbursts, but that doesn't mean they don't have them. They have them.
All right, very fair.
If you were to take anything from anything I've said, is that when we have these conversations, we might actually be able to have, like when you talk to like liberal people, you might be able to have a lot of agreement, but you'll never know unless you dive into specifics. If you keep doing this like vague generality bullshit, you're never going to get in there. You're never going to be able to have the real talk.
Because you allow the specifics. A lot of them will hear my vague, analogy or vague taking a mirror and putting it up to their logic, and they won't allow to get into the specificity. They'll kick me, or they'll kick people like me and say, well, that's a bigot, that's a fascist. I'm not even going to debate that topic with him. Like, for example, here's a vague thing. It's all men. I know a lot of people on your side, at least on TikTok, will say it's all men, and they'll have that be their debate. I'm like, okay, well, do you think it's appropriate to say it's all Indian people, whatever it is? And they're like, no, I'm not going to even engage with you. You're not going to have this discussion with me. You're a bigot, and I get blocked, right? This happens a lot. You are allowing the specificities. You're allowing us to go into split hairs and to have the back and forth. So I appreciate that, but it's not common with people on your side.
I don't know if I want to fight on that. Look, it might be the case that what you are observing, and I think you're probably somewhere in the vein of correct. You're probably somewhere in the vein of correct. But I would say you're having a humongous selection bias issue. I would say you're probably somewhere near right that TikTok in particular, this particular platform has a overrepresentation of people that are a little bit too much in their feelings, and they'll get a little bit too they're quick to jump to hating you because you said something. You know, like there are plenty of people on this platform that would have like kicked you after like the first 4 sentences you said. Okay, you're right about that's true, but you're trying to make it a left versus right problem, and it's not. It's a selection bias problem. This is not the place.
You're kind of an exception. I'm sure
on this platform, but not amongst liberals, not amongst Democrats.
I've watched a lot of Jubilee
this
debates.
Platform.
I've watched.
Where do you think? Okay, yeah, and I've been invited to Jubilee like half a dozen times, and I like where do you think they're getting their cast list for Jubilee shit?
TikTok.
Yes. So again, you're running into the exact same selection bias issue. That's what's happening. You just need to avoid you're saying like, oh, it's Democrats that behave in this manner. It's not. You're selecting for TikTok lefties. They act like that, sure, or not all, but a lot do. That you might be correct about that, but you need to just broaden your selection. Go find some fucking libs that aren't exclusive TikTokers. Like in my instance, the reason I get that comment a lot of like, well, you're like way different in terms of like having a real conversation than a lot of the people that I talk to on this platform. And it's because I'm not a TikToker. This isn't my main platform. I come on here to do these debates once a week for Unfuck America, but I'm not here otherwise. So this isn't like I haven't been like captured by the TikTok audience capture hasn't happened to me.
Because they would hate you.
Well, they do. I mean, I can't even describe the amount of lefties that come into my chat and were like, "You're a racist. You're a fascist," or like to me, and I'm just like, "Okay, that's fine."
To you,
whatever,
yeah.
Dude.
Okay, that doesn't push you further to the right side when they're acting
because I'm not so unbearably weak-willed that like other people's opinions of my opinions will change my opinions. My opinions are my opinions because I got there through logic and reason. I didn't get there because people told me what to think or, and I don't let like people's. I don't let the negative traits that one political party over the other has like push me towards the other side. That's cucked behavior. You should just have this is why like the reason we were able to like dig in deeper than maybe you're used to with like the like teacher or school conversations, because I already have a hard line in the sand, and it's prescriptivism. I don't want my teachers like making prescriptions for morality, but if they're just describing factual realities, I'm cool with that. That's a hard line in the sand that I have, and it would take a lot to move me off that.
Yeah, it's going to get me to consider my position.
Yeah, same,
honestly.
but it's the exact same way with everything else. Literally everything else across everything I believe. I have a hard line. It's not. And that can't be moved by just people being mean. You know, it is like I'm a big proponent of Second Amendment rights. I don't want the government. Like I'm cool with like gun reform, gun legislations. Like I'm not like to that degree where I'm like fucking let me buy a tank. Like I'm not like that. But I'm like, hey, look, man, law-abiding citizens should be able to buy guns up in this motherfucker. Okay, that should always be the case. And I get so much shit from the lefties on here. And that doesn't move me. That doesn't move me 1 millimeter, and it never will, because I don't give a fuck what they think. Like because I can make a rational argument for why that should be the case. In fact, I think it's crazy to me that more lefties aren't jumping on the Second Amendment train after the current position of our country.
If someone like you was running and I had to vote, and someone like I'm going to pick a kind of an extreme person here, Nick Fuentes was running, I'm voting for you.
Oh, thanks. That makes me feel incredible. I could you'd vote for me over a Nazi. Yay.
Yeah, well, I said it's going to be an extreme a person, just to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. Like you'd have to go that far. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, well, a lot of your side is that far too. Actually, they're just on the opposite side. But
like you have your people that would put capitalists in death camps. Sure, those people exist, but also, like I would never say, oh, what would it, like if you asked me, what would it take for you to vote for a moderate Republican? Because that's where I would consider myself. Like I'm a moderate liberal, right? If you said, what would it take for you to cast your vote for a moderate Republican? I would not say it would have to be a moderate Republican versus Hassan Piker. That would not be because that's fucking nuts. I have to go full communist to even consider a moderate? Really?
The fact that you even called him a communist, like, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Though. I
Well,
get
that
what you're saying.
motherfucker hides his power level like you wouldn't. But like, bro, if you gave that dude unlimited power, I'd be in a camp right now.
People like me and you actually would be in a camp, yeah.
Yeah.
So you see what we see with the people on the far side
Yeah,
of
but I don't let them affect me. The problem is like I have my views. I know what I believe, and I will advocate for my beliefs no matter what.
Yeah, I respect
like
that.
I
I
don't
respect
think
that.
I don't think like I don't think that those extremists are okay, and I don't think the right extremists are okay. Like I don't
Right.
I would never in a million years vote for a Hassan type person. Just like I would never vote for a Trump like person. Because I think they're both bad.
I hear you, man. Yeah. I think let's end that here. I appreciate your view though. You're very principled and you're not like emotionally driven.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think you should. I don't really know how much it makes sense to be emotionally driven because if you're emotionally driven, like it almost necessitates that there is some flaw in your logic that
agree.
you're filling with that emotion, right? You shouldn't need to be emotional to just say like, well, this is why I believe it and this is why I'm right. If your emotions are doing that much heavy lifting for you, there's probably something wrong with your argument that you're missing.
Dude, you're an anomaly for people. I mean, again, yes, it is perhaps my influence from TikTok, but also Instagram as well, because I have about 390 something thousand followers there.
Instagram's
and there's
kind of
a
the same
lot of
way.
radicalism.
Instagram's
Huh?
like really similar though in that way.
Yeah.
Like short form platforms incentivize like radicalism. If you like, you need to say like the most. You need to say like
Yeah.
you know when you're making content, you need to say like the most punchy, the most crazy, the most outlandish, out there, wild thing to capture people's attention. It incentivizes you to be nuts.
Trust me, I do not like people on my side like Myron Gaines. I don't like that they are a reflection at all of what I want conservatism to be. I don't like Andrew Wilson. I don't like this, like the radical side. I'm serious. I mean, these people are very
It's
hateful.
funny. I fucking I
You
had
saw
a,
the clip?
well, I mean, I did see the clip. No, it's like a meme in my chat, or at least in like YouTube chat, where I did a debate where I did a like panel debate where Andrew was on the other side. But and I fucking hate that motherfucker with my whole heart. But the problem was the topic I didn't care about at all. Like I had no investment in the topic whatsoever. I didn't give one solitary fuck the entire time. And I was like kicking myself afterwards where I was like, man, I should have just derailed the whole conversation to make fun of him the entire time because I didn't talk that much because I was like, I just don't care about this at all. I don't give a fuck. But then I was like really pissed after because I was like, well, when's the next time I'm going to get a chance to be on a panel with that dickhead? I should have just made fun of him the whole time.
Well,
It's kind of a meme.
I don't disagree with you there. I mean, he has me blocked on every platform. We've debated a few times, but like, I think that you and I are kind of a little bit similar in the fact that we're not influenced by the radical people on our side. We believe what we believe, irrespective of what they believe, and we're not gonna, radicalize our views just to appease them. So, look, man, you're a cool dude. I appreciate your views. We have some areas where we disagree, but I really appreciate principalities and you're principled.
Try to be. I mean, well, if you're not, I feel like
you're principled.
well, I feel like if you're not, then I don't think you should find yourself in a world in which you're like minor circumstances can completely 180 your worldview. I think like something's seriously wrong if that's where you find yourself. Like if you, the example I always use of people like you can see this borne out in like economic polling data of people that like on January 19th of 2025, people are like amongst Republicans, the vibes of the economy, like how people felt about how the economy was doing, was like horrific. And then on January 20th, you see a huge jump up, and I'm like, something's wrong. Something's gone wrong in your brain if that can happen to you. Where like just your perception, just who the president is, can change your entire perception of the world, like that on the dime. I'm like, ooh, something's wrong.
A lot of these people in MAGA, which I mean, I'm under that umbrella because I do support Trump more than the other side. But a lot of the people that could self-label as MAGA worship Trump. Therefore, they look at him as some sort of like demigod that will solve all their life's issues.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like when we get into like things that are super duper obviously like not okay for a president to do, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And they're like, well, it's totally fine. And I'm like, how would you feel if Biden did it? And they'd be like, well, that would be fucking horrible. And I'm like, okay, something's gone wrong in your brain clearly.
Because I'll tell you what, if Biden was trying to cover these Epstein files after campaigning to release them for months, then I would have Yeah, exactly. But I'm losing it with Trump. I hate that. That's what got me to really retract a lot of my support for him. I do not, you know what I also don't like? Him, videoing and then posting it on social media like it's funny, bombing these ships or these like apparent drug
Yeah,
ships
the
and just killing these people.
bragging
I don't
about
think,
murdering people. Like,
yeah,
that's weird.
I'm a Christian. I'm not cool with that at all. Like, is what these people doing wrong? Yes, but there's other ways to handle that. Why just indiscriminately bomb them? I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, well, I
And then-
usually
and then
whenever I
let's
argue
not-
that point, I usually take it down the legal route. But like that is like that's a good point. Like, you mentioned it. You like you said like there's other ways to do it. Like usually people always be like, well, we have like look at like Afghanistan and Iraq and look at Yemen. We did 1 million drone strikes in Yemen. It's because like yeah, like when we have a mission of like we have to get this person, and I use get in the broadest of terms. Like if there's a person that has to go, whether that means killing them or arresting them, and they're in fucking Yemen,
Yeah.
what is the option is you drone strike them. That's what you have to do.
Right.
When it's a
Right.
boat in international waters, there is
Yeah.
nothing that stops the Coast Guard from just arresting them. Nothing.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
just do it. You can just go arrest them. It's easy.
Yeah. See, someone just commented, "Well, you voted for that, brother." I didn't know that Trump was just going to be out here drone striking ships. Like, I didn't know that he did not campaign that he was going to do that. Like, I'm just trying to be honest.
Yeah,
and
I don't think I would.
straightforward.
I don't think I would
support
throw that one at you. The one that I'll do is when people start complaining about the tariffs. When people start complaining about tariff stuff, like I talked to this one dude not too long ago that was actually a farmer, and he was heavy bitching about the tariffs. And like, it's like fucking up my fucking business.
Trump said he was going to do it for months.
Yeah, and so I'm like, motherfucker, he told you, bro. I don't know what know what you want from me. When it comes to like drone striking boats in international waters, I'm like, well, he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. The tariffs is not something I was necessarily
However,
against, but a lot of people are.
Actually, hold on. He didn't say he was going to do that shit. But I will say, the 3 liberal justices on the Supreme Court did warn your ass that he'd be able to. Mm-hmm. All 3 of them were like, hey, just so you know, after Trump v. U.S. in their dissents, I forget who wrote the main dissent there that everyone else signed off on. I don't want to say it was Jackson, maybe it was Kagan. I don't know. One of the 3 liberal justices wrote the dissent there and was like, hey, just so everyone's aware, because of this ruling, the president can just murder motherfuckers, and there's nothing anyone will ever be able to do. There's nothing anyone can ever do about it. And now people are surprised, like, isn't this illegal? He's just blowing people up. And I'm like, bro, those 3 fucking women on the Supreme Court tried to tell yo ass it was Sotomayor. Okay, someone said it was so. Yeah, like she tried to tell you. Okay, come on.
Even if it's legal, there's other ways to handle it because it is in international waters, and
Well, that's kind of
Let's just say it's
that's okay. So there's like a weird conflation there. It's not legal. It's definitely illegal. The problem is you just can't do anything. You can't charge him.
because it's in international waters.
No, because the president has criminal immunity now.
See, well,
That's what she was trying to say. She was
say
saying like
illegal. Let's just say
if the
even-
president did something horrifically illegal, you can't do anything about it now. Sucks to suck.
right, yeah, because that was that recent decision that they made.
Yeah, Trump v. U.S. is a bad decision. Not good.
Yeah, well, I'm not cool with videotaping the people getting bombed. I'm not. I don't. And a ship, like I just rubs me the wrong way. Rubs me the wrong way with the Epstein files, and then him gaslighting all of us that there are no files, and then like months later saying, "Actually, you know what? We are going to release the files." Like, what the hell is that?
Wait, you seem reasonable enough to where like I feel like I can start naming a bunch of like Trump things, and you'd be like, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. Like, how do you feel? What do you feel about like some of like the corruption related stuff? Like, what do you think about him having like just the president of the U.S. like take Trump out of it? Think of it more in broader terms. Like, what do you think of like the president having like their own crypto coin that they own that motherfuckers can just
like
dump money?
that.
Yeah, it's bad, right? What do you think? Like, what
don't
about
like
like the Qatari jet thing?
No, him being gifted that jet, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, so I feel like there's like a lot of these things where I could just like go down the list, and you're like, you seem like reasonable enough where you're just like, nah, bad, but none of that like changes your view on him. Like,
Of course, it changes my view. The Epstein gaslighting is the biggest thing that changed my view on him.
I would say,
For me,
there's something. Yeah,
absolutely
there's something
that.
interesting there. It wasn't the Epstein thing the Epstein thing didn't change my view on him at all because I already thought he was a terrible person. What it did is it changed my view on the Epstein situation writ large, where I would have said previously, and I did say you can. There's plenty of videos on my YouTube channel, plenty of past streams where I've said exactly this of like people would bring up the Epstein stuff, and I'm like, I don't think there's going to be anything there. If those files ever do come out, it's going to be a whole bunch of fucking nothing, and we're all going to be disappointed as shit. But then he just started hiding the fuck out of them, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, maybe I was wrong, because I just feel like you wouldn't do this if there was nothing there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It didn't change my opinion on him. I already thought he was a bad person, but.
You asked me why I still support him.
Well, I don't need to know why you still support him. I know why you still support him is because it's your view that the other side's worse. So.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if he is complicit in these Epstein files, any support that I have of him, at that point, I would rather Kamala in office. If he's actually on those files, I would rather Biden in office. I'd rather Obama in office. And I think it's going to hurt the country, but I don't want a legit P3DO in office. No, I would retract any and all support.
So here's a question I would have then.
But that's a major if, though.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying
I get what you're saying. Yeah, if it like comes out that he did criminal stuff with Epstein, then you would be. Yeah, I get it. Here's a question I would have though. That position that you just laid out seems to be like rooted in some sort of fundamental morality, right? You like there's a moral line that you think is just way the fuck too far, and you're just like, nope, no support for you at all, buddy. If that's the case, and because you brought up, I assume like you subscribe to some form of religion.
Yeah. Well, my bio says "Make America Christian Again."
Okay, so it's Christianity. I was gonna say, I would have assumed because you brought up the Ten Commandments stuff earlier. That makes sense to me. Like, okay, you might take umbrage with the legal argument here, but I'll just tell you, and then if you want to have the legal conversation, we could, if you wanted to. Those drone strikes, those are murders. Like those fit the exact legal definition of murder. And so if you have this like Christian worldview, this like moral line that you just think is way the fuck too far, would like directly violating one of the 10 Commandments not be it? As a Christian, thou shalt not kill. This motherfucker's doing literal murders on the daily. Not on the, well, actually, kind of on the. I think he's gotten up to. He's about daily at this point. He's actually murdering people on a daily basis. And I don't mean like. We can have like qualms over the justifications when it comes to like warfare. Like people will always want to harken back to like Obama. Like, what about Obama's like Yemeni drone strikes? I'm like, at least legally speaking, now, if you want to have a whole moral conversation on whether or not it's okay to drone strike people ever, sure, let's do it. But legally speaking, Obama had a lot of cover, a lot of legal cover, plenty of it. Trump doesn't have fucking any legal cover. This shit is just murder. It's just murder. That's it. That's all it is. And that's not over your line though. But that's what I'm saying. Like you clearly have some moral line, and murder isn't it?
Yeah, no, it isn't. But it's. I mean,
you think Kamala would be drone striking motherfuckers out of the water for no reason whatsoever?
Well, let's be clear here for a moment. I think if we're gonna draw that line, I think what Trump's doing is just as bad as women getting an abortion. But I do think subjectively, this is subjective. God doesn't see it this way, but it's subjectively. If he's complicit in being a P3DO and molesting children, I find it worse. Yeah.
I mean, you can. I wouldn't have any take any issue with you having like different moral weights for different actions, even if God weighted them the same. I think it's okay for you to weight them differently. It's okay.
That's a line too far from me.
I understand that. I'm just curious. So you would say.
Yeah, I would say
so
drug cartel, I don't feel as bad.
Yeah, let me just tell you. Well, I'm not expecting you to feel bad, especially because of the claims that they are drug traffickers. I would love to point out the fact that the administration has made no effort at all to prove that. But that's besides the point, because it's hard to, it's kind of hard to prove it after you've already disintegrated their fucking whole thing, their whole shit. Here's a question I would have then. If you wait, Trump murdering people in the middle of the fucking ocean, similarly to abortion, and it's your view that Kamala is pro-abortion, so they're the same morally on the question of murder. If I believe that if I have like two opposing parties, this is how I make my voting decisions too, right? If it's my view that two opposing parties have the same negative moral trait, right? They both there's something in their moral system that I disagree with, and both of them have it. In this case, you would say they're both murderers. my secondary analysis, at that point they're equal to me, so I have to drop down to a secondary form of analysis. And at that point, my secondary form of analysis would be likelihood of success. Like, if it is the case that both of you are willing to murder people, which one of you is going to pull it off? And in this case, Trump has, so we don't have to question Trump. Like, he's done it already. It's too late. It's done. We would have to have an argument of, do we really, how much do we think Kamala could have enshrined abortion more than it already is?
By reestablishing Roe v. Wade,
And how would she do that?
electing justices. Or I said electing again.
Appointing.
But,
I know what you mean.
appointed,
For her to appoint a Supreme Court justice, for one, it would require a vacancy, unless we were talking about court packing. Which, if you're worried about court packing, then my secondary question would be, then why hasn't Trump done it? And the answer is nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, she could maybe not do it in the first 4 years, perhaps get reelected, and there would be a vacancy in the next four. I just don't want someone that's president that actively wants to reestablish Roe v. Wade.
Sure, you get I disagree with you on the we would have disagreements on abortion, but viewing the world through your moral lens, I totally get how you get to that position. You believe that abortion is murder. You don't want a murderer in office. I get that. The problem comes right back to, well, if our options, this is through your worldview, if our options are a murderer and a murderer, well, my second question just becomes, which one of you is more likely to successfully murder people?
Hold on there. Hold on. But it's not that I'm going to retract my opinion prior that I think it's not cool it's wrong to be bombing these ships. An argument could very well be made that it's in self-defense because these drugs could unalive a bunch of people in the United States, as they do. There's a lot of.
How does that do any damage, or how does that do any lifting to defeat the argument you initially made?
Because abortion's not self-defense.
No. I mean the argument that, you would agree that it is incumbent upon the government to prevent bad things from happening in the least offensive manner possible. And I don't mean offensive as in offense to your sensibilities. I mean offense to human life. If you can arrest a person, it's incumbent upon you to do so rather than kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this case, they have the opportunity to arrest, and they're choosing not to. That's a choice. That's a decision that was made. Can I arrest you? Yeah. Am I gonna? Fuck no, I'm gonna kill you. That's the choice. That's the decision being made. So you can have some sort of problem with the whether or not them bringing drugs to the U.S. Again, the administration has made no effort to prove that, so we don't even know if that's actually what's happening with these people. But if it is the case that they are, you can say, well, you bringing drugs into the country is a bad thing, and something should happen to you. You should be punished. But we've already established that it can't be we just jump to murder. You have to exhaust all other options. The lesser force. I mean, we have a use of force continuum. Police officers follow it. The military follows it. Fucking well, I mean, this is the military in this case. This is just drones, but this is just some dude sitting in a chair with a fucking controller. But yeah, we have to maintain the use of force continuum. If they can't arrest them, then and they choose not to, and they just choose to blow them up instead, that's just murder. So I get you on the whole drugs are bad thing, but it doesn't excuse the murdering.
I'm not going to excuse it, man.
Yeah, and I know you're not, but that's what I'm saying is we have a guy that has made a conscious choice to kill people when he doesn't have to, and then we have another person who you think is supportive of killing people, just by default. So we've got two. So that's when I get to my main point. We have two murderers on our hand, and and again the secondary analysis goes, okay, well, which one of you can pull it off? I know Trump can because he has. But even pre-election, that's unfair because you could just say, well, of course, because he was already elected and it's already happened. You can't use future knowledge. You can't use knowledge you obtained in the future to predict something in the past. Sure, but I would say I would have said that previously too.
Yeah, but I would say then yes, because they're both of equal moral weight in that sense. But I would argue that abortion unalives way more people. I mean, in the excess of 900,000 a year. Then yes, it's wrong what Trump's doing. I would say just bombing these ships. I would rather them be arrested and perhaps they can have a chance to repent of their sins of being in the cartel or whatever. But there's way less of them being unalived, and there's hundreds of thousands of human lives being aborted every year.
Yeah. But I don't. Again, it's going to be this. I mean, we're going to end up having landing on the same question over and over and over.
Overturning Roe v. Wade saves more lives, and that's better than a few like let's say a dozen traffickers being unalived a year.
Yeah, well, Roe v. Wade was already overturned. My point is that Kamala would have had absolutely no mechanism to change abortion laws at all. With the current positions of the Supreme Court, assuming she didn't pack the court, which again, no politician wants to do. There's so many negative ramifications of doing so that people.
A lot of Democrats
are afraid
advise
of. Yeah, a lot of Democrat pundits and there's plenty of politicians on both sides of the aisle that say they want to do it. My point is it never gets done because there's so many humongous political ramifications to doing such a thing.
Political suicide.
Yeah, nobody really wants to do it, even though everyone wants to do it. It's one of those issues, where everyone's like, we should do this, and then it comes time, and they're like, nah, that sounds bad. We shouldn't do it. There's plenty of it, abolishing the filibuster is another one of those huge things where everyone says we should just get rid of this bullshit, and then it comes time. Even Trump was like, motherfuckers, you gotta abolish the filibuster, and you hear here's Mike Johnson in the House no, they shouldn't do that. And I say they, being the Senate, no, fuck that, don't do it. There's a lot of issues like this where everyone wants it, but nobody wants it. All of this is to wrap back up into the original point of you have one person who, through your lens, again, I'm not conceding this because we would have, but we don't have time to do the whole ass fucking abortion conversation. But through your lens, you have a person that wants to legalize murdering babies, and then you have a dude that has shown that he will just fucking kill people because he doesn't like them or whatever the fuck.
What kind of people? I mean, they're drug traffickers. So I understand.
Again, this is the thing. I'm going to keep harping on this. I don't think you can say in the affirmative that they're drug traffickers. How many? Here's for instance, you have admitted throughout this conversation, so it's going to be really hard for you to rewind on this now. But would you say yes or no that Trump has repeatedly lied about Epstein file related issues?
Yes.
Okay, so we've established that this motherfucker, when it affects his credibility or when it affects his the way people view him and when it affects his political position in the country, he will lie. 100% he'll lie. Mm-hmm. Given the fact that the government has made no effort at all, not even a little bit, to provide any evidence that the people they're blowing up in these videos are actually drug traffickers, they haven't even lifted a pinky finger to try to prove that. If that's the case, and we know this guy will lie if the thing he's lying about will make him look bad, why would our... I'm not saying that what you should be doing is saying they're definitely not drug traffickers. He's fucking lying to us. He's murdering innocent people. I'm not saying you should be saying that, but you're going the other way where you're they're drug traffickers. Why would you ever?
Who's feeding Trump the intel that they're drug traffickers? Is it just Trump seeing a boat out? Of course, there's a lot of checks and balances.
No, we're getting. Well, the problem is in a post-Trump v. U.S. world, there isn't. When you have a president,
you don't think anyone's feeding Trump the intel of them being traffickers?
I think there's people feeding him the intel that there are boats in the water. Obviously, one of our drones has to see that there is a boat driving through the water for them to even have something to blow up. But given the fact that there's no evidence provided, they're not even trying to, of them being traffickers, there's no reason we should take that at face value. Why would we? From this guy who you admit will lie when it's politically convenient. Why would you take him at face value when he says that they're drug traffickers? Especially when they won't. Now, if he was making an effort to be look, this is the evidence we had.
I don't think that the military would, because it's not him doing the drones, it's him approving it. But I don't think that all the chains of command it needed to get through before Trump said yes and then them actually carrying it out would carry it out if they didn't have, a concrete intel that these were traffickers.
People say that a lot. Have you ever been in the military?
No.
Okay, I can promise you they fucking would.
Well, the movies tell me otherwise. I see a lot of
the movies are fucking wrong. If it is the case, we get this conversation comes up a lot around the National Guard deployments. This concept of what does it take for a service member to disobey a law, an unlawful order? There's this issue. There's this kind of circular problem when it comes to unlawful versus lawful orders, and it is that yes. There's two prongs to this. A, you are allowed to disobey unlawful orders. That's true. And B, you're actually expected to disobey it. You're required. If you get an unlawful order, it is incumbent upon you. You are required to not do it. If someone, if you have a chief, I was in the Navy, so I use the fucking Navy terms. But if if your chief says, hey, go rob this store, it is incumbent upon you. You are legally required to tell him to go fuck himself. Maybe not say, you know what I mean? You cannot follow that order. You can't if it's illegal. However, It is so fucking hard to disobey an order, regardless of the legality of that order. It is so fucking hard because the issue here is the legality of an order will be determined in a court later on. If you disobey an order, you're getting arrested. You just are. You're getting arrested. You're gonna go fucking sit in jail for a bit, and you gotta go through your whole ass fucking case to determine whether or not it was even justified for you to disobey that order at all.
Understood. Of course.
So,
of course.
so when you say
carrying
like
it out,
when you
yes.
say like these people would if they weren't traffickers, these people would disobey the order. No, the fuck they
No,
wouldn't.
true. No. Okay, fine. I will retract that statement. I'm not going to retract the statement. I would just say I was wrong there because of course they're going to carry it out.
Yeah,
in the face of
especially if
being
it's
arrested.
especially if it's from that high up, bro. If the president says do it, you're gonna do it.
But those finding the initial intel on this boat and who's on the boat had to go through a lot of chain of command before it got to Trump. I'm sure there had to
kind of.
confirm certain things before it got to Trump.
Sort of. Let me ask you this question. All I want an argument in the negative because I want to see if you can do it. What factors would prevent someone, maybe it's a ship, maybe it's one of our naval ships out in the ocean, maybe it's just a drone flying around, maybe it's maybe the Air Force is just flying fucking jets over they're not. But whatever mechanism it happens by, just accept the mechanism. What is to stop this from happening? One of our, something of ours in the military, ship, plane, whatever the fuck, sees a little boat, one of these boats that's been getting blown the fuck up, one of them cruising through the water. They report that up because, by the way, like I'll tell you this from experience. Like these things are always getting identified and like passed up the command. Like if you see anything out there, fishing boat, fucking Russian destroyer, Chinese fucking whatever it is, you're always like passing this up. Like, hey, we see this on, we've got eyes on this. We see it. What is preventing this from occurring? We see a fishing boat, pass it up. Pete Hegseth has a standing order. If you see a boat under these conditions, blow it the fuck up. Standing order, meaning it's not getting approved every single time. It's just he set the conditions. He said, hey, if you see like a small vessel in international waters going away from or towards one of these South American countries, blow it up if those conditions are met. What is preventing that from being the reality?
What is preventing?
Yeah,
like,
why
that order
can't
from being made?
no, like why can't the scenario that I just described, why can't that be true?
Like I'm sure it could be true. I would concede it could be true. I would say though that that's a very emotionally loaded question that would present a scenario in which our government would act in such an irrational way that blow up the next boat you see, even if it just doesn't matter. That's the standing order. Just blow it up.
Yeah, you know what would change my mind? Evidence of any kind.
Evidence of any kind, this showing that wouldn't happen, you mean?
No, showing what selection process they're actually going through to determine like who's getting blown the fuck up and who we let go.
I don't. That's over my. I don't know.
Any sort of like evidence of like, hey, look, we're not just blowing everyone up. Like we have particular selection criteria. We're not just blowing up everybody. Well, any evidence that any of the targets that have been destroyed were in fact drug trafficking boats. Here's the strongest piece of negative evidence, like evidence against the administration that they probably aren't only blowing up drug traffickers, is that when we had a strike where people survived, we've had a few of those now, I think, but we had one like kind of early on, maybe like their fifth or sixth strike, where something went wrong, or maybe they just saw a fucking Predator missile inbound and got the fuck out of their boat. I don't know what happened. People survived. We captured them. Just like we were talking about how we should be just arresting these motherfuckers. We captured them and instantly gave them back to their original country and their home country. And their home country just let them go. Because like they were like, there's no evidence at all that these guys did anything wrong, so they let them free. So we tried to kill them. They survived. We gave them back to their home country immediately. Their home country let them go. Think through that scenario. Think through all the possible options. If it is the case that these people were drug trafficking, we are presented with two options: prosecute them ourselves on our own terms, or give them back. If we're going to prosecute them ourselves, we would have to show evidence in a court of law. Well, if we don't have any evidence, what are we going to do? That's not going to work. So we give them back to their country. Now, there's two ways that could go. Either the country could be super duper duper corrupt, and they could be okay with drug trafficking.
Yes.
and they could let them go, or it could be the case that there really is no evidence because they actually just weren't doing anything wrong, and so their country lets them go. Now, you're going to want to lean into, intuitively, you're going to want to lean into that first option of, well, the country's just ultra corrupt and they're going to let them go no matter what they were doing. If that's the case, we would know that, correct? The fact that your intuitions told you that so quickly, you were like, yes, that one. Well, if you can intuit that so quickly, so can our fucking government. And if we want these people punished, if we want them to stop, why the fuck would we ever turn them back over to their country knowing full well they're going to get insta-let go?
I'm not sure what the legal grounds of us being able to hold them essentially hostage in our country is.
Well, we wouldn't be holding them hostage. We'd be trying them. They would go on trial for crimes. But the problem is you have to prove crimes.
But it's crimes being done in international waters. Again, I don't know what the legal grounds are for us to prosecute them in our country if it's in international waters.
If they're trafficking drugs into our country?
Well,
we charge them for drug trafficking 100% easily.
Two things have to be proven there. One, that first, that there's drugs on the boat, and second, that they were going to traffic them into our country.
Right. And so so you've landed exactly on it. This is the fundamental question. If you cannot prove that in a court of law, if you're so insecure about your case and your evidence that you have, that you're willing to turn them back over to a country you know will let them go because you know you cannot prove at all in a court that they were trafficking drugs at all or to our country, then why the fuck would it ever be okay to blow them up?
Yeah, no, I get your point.
If you can't prove it in court, you shouldn't be drone striking them.
Right. This is okay. So just to be transparent, this is not a topic I'm that versed on at all. But it's just hard for me to believe that the intel being concluded before delivering the message to Trump that there's drugs on this boat is hyper studied, it's meticulous. They're not just seeing some boat out in the water and thinking, all right, maybe it has drugs. Let's tell Trump so that he can give us the order to blow it up.
I'll say again.
But again, I'm not versed on the subject, so I do not know. I'm very ignorant.
I would just say, well, even like the logic you laid out doesn't necessarily track because again, if we capture survivors, if we are doing like a lot of vetting, we should pretty easily be able to go present that in court and be like, hey, look, this is
it would stand to reason.
Yeah, this is all the evidence that we gathered that gave us cause to shoot a missile at them. And now we're going to hand it over to you, the court, and because we failed to kill them, you put them in jail instead. But the fact that we were willing to instantly turn them back over to a country that you instantly recognized would probably just release them because it's corrupt countries. You know, we're talking about like Venezuela here. Like they're probably just going to let them go. If we're willing to turn them back over immediately to a country we know is going to let them go, that means we had no evidence. That so much so that we didn't even fucking try. At least try. Here's a different scenario. What if it is the case that we tried to prosecute them in the U.S. and we failed and then we turned them over? That's a scenario.
That's a problem because if that is the case, again, there's a lot of unknowns here, and it's way above my knowledge on the subject. But let's just say that we tried to prosecute them, and there was lack of evidence. That scares the shit out of me. Then, okay, if there's lack of evidence, how did you have enough evidence to even give the order to blow them up? That's a fair question. No, listen to me. It is a fair question. Maybe there's someone. Tony seems to know a lot more on the subject than me. So, I think that our conversations kind of found a good conclusive end here. I appreciate your view again. I appreciate your principles and being principled. But yeah, I just don't know on this subject, honestly.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say I say this to literally everybody, and it's never not going to be the case. But like when people say like I don't know enough about this, I'm like, well, look it up.
No, you have a valid question.
Well, secondly, I wouldn't even necessarily. I don't even think you need to go as far as to like dig into the actual nitty gritties here. I just like run through that logical experiment in your head of like, wait, why?
I'll just say it this way: if it was Biden doing it, I'm already biased against Biden, right? And if he was the one calling these orders, and it come to find out that a few of the survivors on this boat were being persecuted, and they had insufficient evidence to land them in jail, I'd think, wait, so how did you even have enough evidence to make the order in the first place?
Yeah,
I think it's a very valid question, and I think my side would be far more critical of if it was Biden or Obama calling this order, if the same scenario were presented. So I got to be fair.
Yeah. All right, well, cool. It's been fun.
Good talking to you, man.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks. My God. Well, that was fun. I tend to do that. I tend to instead of having like 10-minute conversations with 100 people, I'll have like a 2-hour conversation with one person. That's part of the reason. I've talked about this a million times before, but I'll say it again while there's like a decent amount of people here. Part of the reason I don't stream that much on TikTok anymore is because I am naturally inclined to do that. I don't have this like Dean Parker mentality where it's just like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, make your point, I'll make my counterpoints, and then fucking you get kicked. I don't have that mentality. I don't act like that. I don't do that because I just don't think you can have a good talk in 5 minutes. I think we saw like, I like to dig in. I like to dig in on specifics of stuff. I want to be like, okay, well, like, please tell me exactly why you believe what you believe, and draw your moral lines for me so I can kind of like fight in that realm versus like these like vague, fucking nebulous bullshit ideas. I don't like doing that. It's not fun for me. So I don't do these TikTok debates very often anymore because I'm more naturally inclined to long form stuff. Having like a 2-hour talk with a guy. Doing 5-10 minute stuff it just doesn't come naturally to me. I don't like doing it. I get too like in the weeds on stuff where I'm just like, oh well, let's dig a little further. I do that. Okay, Tony, you've been asking a lot if you can come up, so I'll let you up. But it literally has to be like less than 3 minutes. Like ask your question. I'll try. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, I've been listening for a while. I've enjoyed the talk, so thanks for all that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Also, thank you for your service. I heard you said you were in the Navy, so I appreciate you being in the Navy. Thank you for your service for our country.
Thank you. What's the question you wanted to ask?
So I was curious about, you said that Pete Hegseth had a standing order to just shoot down boats that were found off the coast.
No, that was the scenario I was like trying to lay out for him. People get into this like mindset where the administration will say something, will make a claim, provide no evidence for it, and then people will latch onto the claim and like tout it as the gospel. So like they've said, hey, these boats were trafficking drugs, despite seemingly not wanting to provide any fucking evidence of that whatsoever. And people will latch onto that, and it annoys me because I'm just like, well, I mean, especially with this administration, especially with a guy like the last guy I was talking to, where like I can get you to admit on 10 separate occasions different things that Trump has lied about because it was politically expedient for him to do so. Why is it the case that you don't believe that this could be another one of those things, considering the fact that they just won't provide evidence when they've been getting asked to, like, hey, you said that guy was trafficking drugs that you blew the fuck up. Can you prove that at all? And they're just like, nah. So given that, why would you ever take it on face value that that these people are what the administration says they are? That's the point I was trying to make. Is the counter to that is if I say, how do you know that there's not just some standing order to just blow up all these fucking boats in international waters that are heading towards Venezuela or heading towards America or heading towards whatever? There might be parameters in place, like, hey, if a boat looks like this and is carrying like something that looks like this and has like a passenger amount above this amount, then you have a green light to blow them up every time you see something that fits those parameters. You can't know that that's not what's occurring because they won't tell you what is occurring.
Okay, I understand.
Not that I think that is happening. That's just that's an extreme example I was
okay.
giving to prove the point of like you shouldn't just believe what they say because they said it. You should be demanding evidence from these people.
So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is because there's not sufficient provided evidence of these boats being drug trafficking boats, then it's also maybe equally or equally as possible that there is a standing order to bomb boats that meet a certain criteria.
Yeah,
so you're saying both are not obviously proven. There's no evidence laid out to support either hypothesis. But if you're believing that all these boats are drug boats, then you could easily be led to believe that all these boats are also just standing order being bombed.
Yeah, all the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't you shouldn't latch on to things that are said that they refuse to back up, right? It's like
either
this,
idea.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
Exactly. Like you shouldn't hear me make that lay that fake plan out and be like, oh my God, you're probably right. That is what's happening because I didn't fucking give you any evidence that that's true. You shouldn't believe that.
Okay, exactly. I appreciate you fleshing that out because I thought you were saying that there was a standing order, and I was like, wait, that's against the argument that you're trying to make that there's no evidence that these are all, verified drug boats.
Yeah.
Another thing I could ask you about is, I know you said you didn't really want to hear this example too much, but how much evidence did we see about the drone striking that Obama did over in the Middle East, where civilians were obviously killed? Where I think we have a higher degree of certainty that American citizens are not being killed in these bombings of these alleged drug boats. So if we're going to say that the legal standard is that Trump has to provide or should be providing evidence that all these boats are drug boats, then are we also saying that Obama should have been providing evidence that these drone strikes were stopping terrorism or against the regimes that we were fighting against in the Middle East back in 2008 to 2016?
No, to be clear, my argument that sorry, I fucking hiccup spell. My argument that the strikes on the boats is illegal has literally nothing to do with what I would say. If you provided me 100% evidence, 100%, it's not deniable. I cannot argue against it. 100% evidence that these people are indeed trafficking drugs. That they're still murders. Doesn't matter. Still illegal.
Okay.
So that my argument doesn't hinge on the
that.
I'm only making that point to say, like, it is weird that they're making a claim and then people are saying, like, hey, can you give us evidence of the claim? And they're like, nah, we can't. Like, you would find that weird in any scenario. Like, if every single day if we were friends in real life and every single day I saw you and I was like, hey man, the sky's orange today, isn't that fucking cool? And you're like, no, it's not, bitch, prove it. And then I just walked away from you. And then the next day I came back and I was like, isn't it cool how the sky's orange today? And you're like, dude, you gotta show. No, it's not. And it did that every day. Eventually you'd be like, this lying bitch. Why? He won't prove anything. He said, yeah. So when every day they're drug traffickers and people are like, okay, can we have evidence? And they're like, no. And that happens every fucking day for a month. At some point I go like, I feel like you're lying.
Right. Well, first off, I'd like to think that we would be friends if we knew each other in real life. You sound like a pretty level-headed guy, and I do appreciate the conversation and the honesty in your arguments. So thank you for that. But back to my original question a little bit is maybe there was less media or less social media where people can flesh out these ideas back in the Obama administration. But the drone strikes that Obama was doing, the U.S. was doing under Obama for years, I don't think he was providing evidence on each strike about which ones were completely legally justified and defendable to the public. So I think
those two things. There's a wide canyon between those two things.
You said that these killings on the drug boats are murders. I agree. You're taking another human life. That's a murder to me. Even if you have decent evidence, or as you said, undoubtable evidence that they were delivering drugs to the U.S. Why are the Obama drone strikes not in the same category as they're just murder?
Yeah,
whether
sure.
or not you have evidence, or let's say we had. You said 100% certainty that they were delivering drugs to the United States. You think they're still murders? What if we had 50% certainty that the people that we drone striked in the Middle East were terrorist affiliates or straight up terrorists? Are those not murders as well? If you think they both are, I could agree that they both are. But to say that one is and one is not, for some reason they're worlds apart. I'm not. How are you getting there?
So when I'm especially with not especially like uniquely when it comes to like military strikes. We should now, unless we are proven otherwise, unless like we encounter such fucking bad faith from an administration where like they're caught lying about this type of thing over and over and over. Like if we're not encountering massive bad faith, when we're analyzing the legality of a strike like this from the civilian point of view, now like there's going to be a deeper analysis that's going on behind the scenes of like, for one, like none of these strikes gets authorized. Now, fuck me, I have to caveat this for you. Pre-Trump, this Trump term. None of these strikes would ever be authorized without a JAG saying, like, yes, it's fine, you can do this, or so, like a lawyer.
JAG? Could you define JAG?
It's the military's lawyers.
Okay.
Without a lawyer somewhere saying, like, yeah, you have the authority to do this, like this is legally justified. That's pre-Trump. Like one of the first things Trump did when he came into office was fire like 60% of the fucking like lawyers in the military. That's an exaggeration, wasn't it? He fired a fuckload of the military's lawyers, which was weird as shit, I thought. Now I kind of see why. Anyway, these strikes are not getting authorized without like a lawyer's approval. But let's discount that because that's happening. That's all happening behind the scenes. We're not privy to that. From a civilian point of view, from us onlookers, when we're analyzing military strikes, I think we should always just take the government at face value unless they prove that they don't deserve that credit. So when Trump says like these are drug trafficking boats, the reason I say I don't require them, I'm only asking for evidence is sort of like isn't it weird that they won't prove it type of deal. But when it comes to my legal analysis on whether or not these are murders or not, I don't need that. I'll take them at face value. Okay, fine, they're drug traffickers. Cool. Now using that framework, is it still a murder? And I would say yes, and we can get into that if you want. But with like Obama strikes, let's take them at face value. Are these terrorists or terrorist affiliates or terrorist affiliates? And taking that at face value, no, they're not. For kind of two reasons, mainly one. Yeah, I'll give you both reasons because I think they're both equally ish important. When it comes to the drug boats being bombed, the actual reason that I would consider these murders, and I think the law would consider them murders, is because a murder, definitionally speaking, is an unjustified killing. Now, how do we get to that unjustified part? When it comes to military operations or when it comes to law enforcement operations, the thing we would want to look at is, was there a non-lethal method you could have taken to accomplish the same goal? Your goal in this case is to prevent the trafficking of drugs, again, taking them all at face value. The goal is to stop the trafficking of drugs into the country. That's what you're trying to prevent. If that's your goal, was there a non-lethal method? And the answer is yes, 100% across the board for all of these drug boats. Every single one of them could have been arrested. Every one. You didn't have to kill any of these people to stop the drug trafficking. You could have arrested all of them. When it comes to like flipping the scenario back to Obama, when it comes to say terrorists or terrorist affiliates in Yemen, right? If your goal is to stop these people from doing terror, like whatever that is, whatever we're going to say the goal is here, to stop these people from doing whatever they have planned or from aiding the terrorists that they're affiliated with, whatever that goal is, could you have pulled this off in a way lesser than killing them? And I would say in a country like Yemen, when we're doing counterterror, no. You're not sending no one in there to fucking arrest these motherfuckers. You can't do that. The amount of risk you'd be assuming is well beyond what we would consider reasonable. It's like if a person like pulls a gun on a cop, right? That cop is no longer, if a cop's going to make an arrest and a person pulls a gun on them, we no longer expect that cop to make this arrest. Like, we're expecting that he's going to kill the person. Same thing here, right? For sure. We're not sending fucking soldiers into Yemen to make arrests, okay? This is not happening.
So another question I have for you. First, I'd like to say that I think your logic is a little bit flawed, and I'd like to come back to that in a moment. But my question for you off the bat, because I'd like to give you another chance to respond, is do you believe that Trump is authorizing these bombings on these alleged drug boats because he is a murderous deviant who just wants to see death, and you think it helps his political cause? Or do you think that he truly believes that these are drug boats?
Neither.
So what's the middle ground?
I don't think he's doing it like for kicks, like just trying to kill people. Nor do I think I don't think he's like fully 100% convinced that like these are drug. And again, I'm gonna come back to the caveat here. Even if he was 100% convinced that these are drug boats, it's still not an excuse to kill them. Yeah. So even if he had deluded himself to the point where he was like, they're fucking trafficking drugs into my, it's not an excuse to blow him up. You got to go for that arrest. I would make a secondary. So what I would. Again, I can't mind read the guy, but just based on some tertiary things, I would say probably he wants some military conflict with Venezuela, and antagonizing them in this way gets us there.
Oh, I can understand that argument. What I got a little bit earlier from your argument, which why I said I think your logic was a little inconsistent, was you started off your argument by saying that because you don't have trust in the Trump administration, saying that he has lied to us repeatedly about certain things, and you didn't echo that in the Obama administration, then correct me if I'm wrong, you're somewhat taking Obama's judgment on the bombings that we did in the Middle East at a little bit of a discount, because, or you're believing him a little bit more about the need for those strikes because his administration did not display the dishonesty of the Trump administration. Could you see how someone who is a Trump supporter, generally of the administration, might not be able to get there as easy as you and say, well, sure, I think the Obama administration maybe lied to us more or just as much. So that argument doesn't really hold water to me, because I could point to X, Y, or Z where the Obama administration lied to the American people. So you to say that their drone strikes were justified based on the super great reputation of the Obama administration doesn't really hold up to me, because I might hold the Trump administration in higher regard than the Obama administration.
Yeah, the difference is like when with the other guy, especially when I was bringing up the things about the administration lying, I was only doing that in the context of trying to dispel this like kind of core belief within him that when the administration tells you something, they're telling the truth. I'm like, well, they've proven to you. And the only reason I brought that up with him, I don't think in a normal conversation I would. The only reason I brought that up with him is because previously in the conversation, he had explained multiple times in which he felt that the administration was lying about stuff. And I was like, well, so
Trump administration?
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, it's weird to me that you can identify, like, I think they're lying here. I think they're lying here. I think they're lying here. And then later down the line, they say something and you take it wholesale. And I'm like, well, why then? If you like have identified all these other lies, then why are you taking this one wholesale? That was the only reason when it comes to like actual argument about like the legal or like the legal rightfulness of either one strikes, the Obama or the Trump. Hold on one second. It's fucking choking to death. When it comes to like that legal analysis, again, I would just take them both at face value. Well, I'll just put them both on an even playing field. I'll say like, okay, I'm going to believe what Obama's saying, and I'm going to believe what Trump is saying, and we'll analyze from there. And even through that lens, it still comes out to where I'm going to give the Obama strikes. That like we can debate the morality of just blowing people up in general. That's a whole different conversation.
Did he defend them legally?
Did he defend them legally? What do you mean? Like he was never like charged with anything or anything like that.
No, but I mean, you're saying that the Trump administration never hasn't supplied sufficient evidence for why these strikes were completely necessary or something. But did Obama ever articulate why those drone strikes in the Middle East were as necessary?
Yeah, that's the argument. Like that's the whole crux of my argument is that we
couldn't enforce anything.
No,
like well, it was either blow them up or nothing.
Well, like with Obama strikes, like when it comes to like terrorism in other countries, yeah. Like you're not. My point is, in that instance, is when it comes to like the Trump boat strikes, there's a clear second option that results in no one dying. Like it'd be not fucking hard for the Coast Guard to arrest these people. In fact, we do it. Sorry, I don't want to talk in present tense. We did it all the time. We arrest drug trafficking boats all the time. The Coast Guard, that's like a lot of what they do. They be arresting motherfuckers out in the ocean. They do it all the time. It's not that hard. So they could have done that, and they chose the blowy up route instead, and that's like a deliberate choice of like, well, I could arrest you, or I could blow you up. Like we look to Obama, it's like, what's the mechanism by which we think we can effectuate an arrest here?
There's no state troopers on the highways of Yemen.
Yeah, you ain't pulling this shit off.
Arrest. Right.
Yeah.
What about the argument that maybe blowing up drug traffickers, and you and I both don't know the level of evidence that the Trump administration had about these people being drug traffickers?
That's why it sucks that they don't give any.
It does suck that they won't give any, but there is a potential possibility. I know, just like the argument you were making that even if they had 100%, maybe they had a very high confidence that these people were. Sorry, I'm echoing a crap ton. Is there anything we can do about that?
I do hear a little echo, but I don't hear a ton on my end. But no, I don't.
All right, I'll just keep going.
Usually people don't have that issue, so I don't know.
So obviously you and I are both obviously not privy to all the information of why Trump is planning to blow up these things. Regardless of that, could we maybe say that blowing up these drug boats, let's say a scenario where the Trump administration does have a high degree of certainty that these are drug trafficking boats, maybe even call it 99, 100% like you were saying before.
No.
Could we maybe theorize that blowing them up is a greater global deterrent to future drug traffickers than maybe just arresting them, returning to them to their home countries where they get released for, whatever reason you might think?
It probably, so if we want to just go on like a deterrence argument, it almost certainly is. Like if it is the case that, like if we arrest these people, we're not going to be able to make a strong enough case for a conviction in U.S. courts. So they're not going to be able to, like, we can't get a conviction here. And so we're going to have to turn them back over to Venezuela and they're going to release them. Like you might know that to be true. And therefore it would definitely deter more people if you just kill them. For sure it would. The problem is we don't make legalistic determinations based on like this utilitarian analysis of like, well, we're looking for deterrence and what's the biggest, like, the problem is, wait, when you take this view, why not?
Yeah, why not be utilitarian in this philosophical argument?
I mean, if you want to make the argument that like you want to put like a utilitarian belief ahead of morality, then I guess you could. But you can make that argument if you want. Is that the argument? Is that where you want to go? You want to make that?
I don't think I'm really making that argument. I'm just thinking that the utilitarian perspective here would bring the most morality. In my opinion, yeah, if you blow up the few drug traffickers, if the Trump administration has a reasonable expectation that these are drug traffickers, you blow up those boats. It does a couple things. It deters other people from trying to traffic drugs into the United States, which first of all, obviously brings less harmful drugs into the United States, which is good. And it also stops the next group of people from being blown up by the Trump administration for trying to bring drugs into the United States. I think that's a utilitarian and morality argument where those things align.
It depends. So this is going to get into a whole separate, huge argument we'd have to have about agency. So, like, I could say, if it were
Agency
the case,
of who?
Agency of everyone involved in this process, right? So the argument here would be, like, we need to go for maximal deterrence because drugs kill people, right?
No, wait, hold on. That's not my argument that we need maximum deterrence. Maximum deterrence would be going into Venezuela, declaring war on them, murdering anyone who manufactures drugs. I'm saying less of a maximum deterrence where only the people who are actively on boats trying to get drugs here, you blow those up. So, I mean, it's not a purely utilitarian solution, but it's morality mixed in because you're deterring it, but you're also being the most moral by letting less Americans be hooked and die on drugs, and you're deterring people in those countries from taking boats over here in order to bring those drugs. So
sure, like you could go more maximally deterrent. So yeah, so we could make the whole, well, let's just invade Venezuela argument, which
right.
I would argue, like, I would argue that like Trump seems to be posturing for something like that. Secondly, even like under this like lesser framework of like, okay, not maximal deterrence, but like more deterrence than an arrest, like a little bit more. Killing them rather than arresting them is more of a deterrent. So if we take this step up and like, okay, well, we're gonna go for the extra deterrence here rather than the not killing them part. Even then, we still have to have the agency conversation because, again, the reason you would say it might be moral to kill them for deterrence purposes is because we're trying to lower the amount of drugs coming into the country because drugs kill people, right? Like, ultimately, that's where you get.
Yeah, with the added benefit of you're also going to be drone striking less people in the future because it's a massive deterrent.
Sure. So then the reason I say we need to have an agency conversation is because if we want to blow these people up, to determine. Now, there's a secondary argument here where you could say it doesn't even matter. So hold that, because you're going to think it at some point while I'm talking.
Okay.
And I will address it. But if that's the case, then we have to address the agency of the harm, like who's taking on like the agency for the harm being done, right? If it is the case that if I sit here right now, right here as we speak, and I just chug 700 beers, I will die. But was it like Budweiser's? Did Budweiser kill me because they supplied me the beer, or did I kill me because I'm a fucking dipshit? I killed me, I would say. Now, you can make a separate argument. If you don't think that's the case, fine, we'll talk about it. But I would say I killed me. If that's the case, then we could say the same thing about drugs, right? Is it the person that's selling you the drugs that's killing you, the person manufacturing it, or is it your own dumbass fault? And if we take the position...
I'll reject that argument wholeheartedly because obviously we have... Why is there not fentanyl sold over the counter to anyone of any age in the United States? Why can't an 11-year-old go into CVS and buy fentanyl because they're curious or they saw a video where someone they idolize is taking drugs?
Yeah.
We obviously have laws in this country, and
Sure.
I don't think that. I mean,
and
you could blame the American public as much as you want.
Yeah, you would say like we made it illegal for a reason. There's a reason we made this law, right? There's a reason for that. Like we didn't just do it on a whim. There's a reason. Like someone sat down and was like, we should ban this shit. And this is why. The counter I would make is I make the exact same argument about murdering people, having our military just blowing people up. We made laws against it for a reason. So if you want to take if you want to go back to the legalistic route of like, well, we have laws that prevent fentanyl use amongst the general public because it's dangerous. Yes, we also have laws that prevent our military apparatus from blowing people up under scenarios where we don't deem it necessary, right? So we can't take the legalistic route. The law can't be the reason why we care here.
Yeah, I don't really resonate with that argument. I think that saving American citizens from the influx of these drugs is, I think it's a gray area. I don't think the Trump administration, obviously, as you agreed, is just murderous and murdering people for no reason. I think they have a high degree of confidence that taking out these boats will save American lives, and I'm on board with that. Sure.
I mean, you have like a whole different like set of morality. I would say like if there's a less murdery way to accomplish the same goal, then you should do so.
All right, I have another pivot question that I'd like to propose. It might lead us in a different
Last
direction.
one. I got to get out of here. I'll answer it briefly.
Last one, and it might be kind of inflammatory, and I'm sure a couple of your commenters won't like what I'm asking, but I'd like to say that I think that most countries around the world have citizens that value their own citizenship, the lives of their own citizenship, higher than people outside of their, foreigners of their country.
True.
And I think that the United States is uniquely shamed into not having that belief. So if I were to say that I believe that bombing these alleged drug boats is a good thing because American lives could be at risk, a counter argument to that might be, well, you're murdering people who weren't obviously convicted and tried and given a fair trial of doing those things. Yet I think that any other government in the world, any other population in the world would value their own citizenship, life value higher than any other country in the world, that they would be fine with doing that. And for some reason, I feel like maybe it's a view of the left, but I won't generalize too much and say that. I feel like the United States citizens are uniquely shamed into not being able to have that belief. And I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I would say I think you should value your own citizens more than the citizens of other countries. But I would also say, if we want to talk about things that the country values and things the country should value, our country was definitionally founded on the idea of limited government powers, right? We
Hell yeah.
we had to fight a whole ass revolutionary war to get out from under the thumb of a monarchy that we didn't want to be a part of anymore. And so we put it's a huge part of our value system we baked into our governmental structure to not give our federal government too much power, because we really don't want to repeat. Nobody does. Fuck that.
Of course.
And so even if we can come to some sort of agreement, we'd have to have a longer talk about it, but even if we were able to finally come to some sort of actual agreement on the morality of it and then the legality of it, I would still say there's this secondary moral quandary we have to tangle with, where maybe we should care. I wouldn't even say maybe. I think we should care about our citizens more. I also don't think we should ever, under any circumstances, be giving the federal government unilateral power to kill whoever they want. As long as they say the right words. As long as you attach the right words to the end of your sentence. We just killed these guys because they were trafficking drugs. Or we just killed these guys because of blah, 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 whatever. I don't think we want the government
because of terrorism under the Obama years. I haven't heard that idea fleshed out well enough.
Exactly. The problem is that wasn't you. You know how we got to the whole legality conversation? I explained to you why one was legal and one wasn't. That legality, when I say unilateral, I'm saying one guy making the whole decision. The whole thing with Obama is we had now, whether or not you agree with it, I don't. In a lot of cases, I don't agree with it. But we did have congressional input there. The Congress passed the AUMF to deal with terrorism, right? We had the war on terror. This was congressionally approved. So when I say that word unilaterally, I mean at the behest of one guy. And right now, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with there's no legal authority that Congress has given the executive branch to do what he's doing. He's just doing it. It's one man, unilateral, on his own, doing the whole thing.
To me, that sounds a little bit contradictory to what the statement you just said, where unless you attach the right words to the end of your sentence, which you just did say that you said killing these people for whatever reason is wrong, which was the morality argument that you made. And then you said, unless you attach the right words to the end of this sentence. And for me hearing that, it sounds a little bit like what Trump did was wrong because blah, blah, blah. And what Obama did wasn't wrong because blah, blah, blah. And it's just words at the end of your sentence that are justifying the murder of one people because you maybe agree with the political party there, but not the Trump administration because of the end of the words of the sentence there.
The difference is very, very, very clearly delineated. The reason I use the word unilateral is because that's the delineation. The difference between one guy saying, I'm going to kill these people just because I've decided I'm going to, and then one guy, it wasn't even Obama. He was just using authority that was passed down from the Bush years. But so in the case of, we'll say, Bush is the one that gave Obama the legal authority by rallying Congress to pass it. But we could look there and say, this is one man saying, I want to kill these people. Can you approve it? Can you the representatives of the people? Ultimately that's what Congress is. Whether you they're always definitionally. This is a tautology. This will always happen because of our two-party system, right? There will always be people that disagree with the decisions of Congress, but ultimately boil it all down.
Which is good.
Congress is the representation of the people. So if Bush wants to do a thing and then Congress approves that thing, that is the people's representatives approving that thing. But if Trump wants to do that thing and then he just does the thing, nobody's approved it. that's the so I'm not making any sort of morality distinction. I'm making a legalistic / governmental structure difference here of like, well, one guy got approval and one guy didn't. That's the difference. That's the problem. And I take it all back to what I was trying to get down is I don't want to live in a world, and I don't like it's baked into the American principles. We don't want to live in a world where one guy can just do whatever the fuck he wants, because we fought a war to get away from that type of system. I don't know why we'd ever want to go back.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to go back.
So we shouldn't accept it. Like when it starts happening, you should be like, hey, motherfucker, no, you got to get approval for that.
Is that for, we need to get approval, in your opinion, for any strikes on a country that we don't have the war declared on?
Yeah, well, there has to be some, ultimately, like the war on terror, the AUMF for Iraq, Afghanistan, like the whole war on terror bullshit, like it all now, again, this is a whole separate conversation I don't have fucking time for. But ultimately, all those like Obama strikes were predicated on that like legal permission, granted from those times. So yeah, the president needs to get permission to do any sort of military action that is not already congressionally approved in some way. Like right now, if I don't think he would do this, I don't see any reason why he would. But if technically speaking, if Trump were to like drone strike Afghanistan right now, technically he'd be within his rights to do so, because we just haven't fucking repealed that shit. Yeah, well, that's a congressional laziness issue of like, okay, we're done with that.
Because nothing gets repealed, right?
Yeah, well, we don't repeal anything ever. It's fucking ridiculous. Right. The argument would be like, so you pass it because you need to, and then when you're done, you repeal it so some president can't come down the line later and abuse it. But we have a lazy Congress. They don't do that shit. But yeah, so in this case, yeah, I would say like if we want to do some military action against Venezuela, Congress needs to come together and say, okay, buddy, you can do it. We approve.
All right, I appreciate you articulating your responses. I appreciate you being a good faith debater. Thanks for chatting with me. I look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
All right.
Also, Pink in the comments called me a racist, which was way out of bounds because I am absolutely not. They did not back it up. So if Pink ever wants to chat, hit me up.
Yeah, I always ignore those people. I like my like one rule is like, I'm always open to any criticism if you have of me, but if you like make a criticism and it's not followed by, and this is why, go fuck yourself. You're probably going to get banned, to be honest.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks.
You are this. You better tell me.
I threw you a follow, and I'll watch your lives again, and maybe I'll jump up another time. We can have a good chat.
Sweet. Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.
See ya. Okay. That's it. That went so much longer than I said. What did I say? Like 5 minutes for that? I was like, all right, you got fucking 5 minutes. And it went way longer. Whatever. What's up, Corey? How you doing? You just fucking vibing out here, dude?
Yep, pretty much.
This whole time?
Yeah, this whole time. I'm a true fan.
How do you think that went?
Good. I think it went good. You told him 3 minutes, so you did give him a little bit longer than what you had said. But
like 30. Still. Ridiculous. This is what I'm doing. This is the exact point I'm making. I'm just not built for these, to be honest with you. Like, not that it's fine. I think it's fine. It works out well for me because then I get like long form YouTube videos I can post of like me having like 45 minute to an hour conversations with people, and I can clip it up, and it works good for me. It works for me. It gets me what I need, but this is not what this platform is for. I don't use this platform for what it's meant to be used for ever. Because I'm not built that way, man. I'm not built for it.
But I do like that you have the long conversations, like getting down into those details is part of the problem why these conversations never really go anywhere, because it's so surface level.
That's what I would say. Yeah. Like that whole thing of like me like explaining to a Trump supporter, someone that's like on board for like the fucking Venezuelan boat strikes, of like why it's not okay legalistically, like morally, and then like governmental structure wise, like why this shouldn't be accepted by our populace. Like me, like if I talk to a person for 30 minutes, I can actually explain to you all of those things. But if it's like 5, there's no fucking way. You're never getting it. You're never gonna understand.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Fuck yeah, I'm just built for the longer ones, bro. But whatever. I can whittle it down when I really need to. The difference is like in these scenarios, I just don't have to. You know what I mean? Like I don't need. I can talk to you for an hour. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But yeah, that's it. Are you guys like? Are you doing So I know like the main reason, like the reason you would give if I asked you like, why are you doing this? You would give like for the TikTok debate stuff with UFA. Like the main reason would be to like to like expose different content creators out to the public more, and like get content with different people, so you're not just posting 100 Destiny clips a day.
Sort of,
Content,
sure.
like, for content
It's also
purposes
because, like, there's creators and there's debaters on the Unfuck America tour that have talent, and we want to showcase that in one way or another. And that's really what this all started from. And then it was like, oh, well, we also could, and then we also could, and we can. And that's kind of where this came from. And there's more that's coming down the line sooner or later with, the types. You and I talked about this a little bit. I mean, a lot of the conversation that you and I had at the airport was very inspirational about like the direction that my mind was going. So like, I took a lot of that into account, and like what we have planned for in 2026. Like, it's not just all of these tour stops. Like, we kind of want to get to I guess you can say another level with all of it, right? We don't want to just we want these types of conversations to be had more so than just these quick clips and short forms and stuff like that, right? But the end goal, of course, is to be kind of like on a national level, more so than we are now, having like real conversations and moving the needle the way that we're supposed to, in addition to the debates and the college tours and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, it's slowly coming together. There's so much background work that goes into this stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people don't really think about that when they look at like the Unfuck America tour or really any of these types of things. But it is kind of ridiculous. And again, like, to answer your question, like, we just wanted to celebrate the people who are on the tour and kind of give them spotlight in one way or another. And I thought this was a good way to do it. TikTok was chosen just mostly because of the ability for people to kind of jump up and have a conversation with you, as opposed to other platforms that aren't necessarily like that, especially with the crowd that's on there. And I know that it's kind of like tough with the types of conversations that are had here typically, but I mean, why not? I mean, I think the conversations you had tonight were great, like,
yeah, I was going to say that's more so.
The first guy was not really a typical like TikTok kind of consumer or debater, right? Like you typically don't have those conversations, so it's nice to find those.
Yeah, I was going to say that's more like the difficulty of TikTok conversations is more so in like the terms of service. But I said, bro, I'm going to keep it a buck. There's a couple times where I like said something and I was like, fuck, I'm about to see the ban notification pop up in a second, and it never did. And I was like, oh shit, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is there like this secondary built-in motivation? Because I know we talked at some point about like how it would be cool if when we do IRL events, if instead of like booking a venue for like 2 hours and just putting Steven up there and having him rip out, like, go for 2 hours, if we could rent one out for like 4 and have like Brian or Soy Pill or me or something, like Kyla, somebody else, like do like 30 minutes before and then 30 minutes before, like at UNLV with like Brian having his like intro period. Stuff like that. I was gonna say, like, is there like a secondary motivation of doing the TikTok debate stuff of being like, all right, let's find out which one of you can actually handle yourselves in a conversation so we can like have more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do stuff.
So I mean, like, I don't know what's on the docket for our next stop, especially because like it's a lot more higher caliber in terms of like, the type of people we can attract, like the one you had, I believe you're aware of, as well as like some of the other ones that I know Z has been talking with. So like, and plus like the time frame between this being decided on and all of the other things that were already in place kind of gave us a small window to put together what we want to do. But 2026 is going to be a different story. So to answer your question, yeah, pretty much it is a lot of what you and I talked about in that sense, where we do want to have creators, open, basically, I guess you could say, and do a panel or have their own thing in one way or another and make it more formal. And I think that was part of it too, was, a lot of people kind of do have a vision of the Unfuck America tour as the Destiny tour. And to a certain degree, they're not wrong, right? I mean, like he's got a large platform and he's kind of like, the headliner. So he's leading kind of like a lot of what the content driving is. But we do have other creators that are on the tour as well that we want to bring to the forefront. And I think it just had to get fleshed out a little bit. And there hasn't been enough time for us to really formulate who is going to. We've been through these iterations, right? People already know the lore of the Unfuck America tour and what has happened and transpired. So it's been a rocky road, to say the least. And I think, now that it's smoother, I think there's a lot more that's in store for people, and especially the people that are on the tour themselves.
Yeah, well, that'll be fun. I'm glad we're like doing more in 2026 as well. The whole like it's not, like it's totally justifiable and understandable that we like have like usually like a month between stops. Now like UNLV and VT were like kind of closer together, but like the time frame between them has been like very justifiable and understandable. But yeah, it'd be fucking dope as fuck to be doing, like you said, like 2 a month. That'd be dope.
Yeah, 2 a month is like kind of the goal, but then we also we thought just like not too long ago, well, what are we doing during the summer months when there is no school? Because normally it would be college, tours. So like, thinking about what we're going to be doing for those months and what else we can put together. So, like the way that we're doing the events, that was kind of like thought of where we have like a rented space and we have some sort of maybe by then we have enough of a pull to bring people to attend, as opposed to kind of like, using the America Fest as kind of like a way to bring people into the venue, even though like the drive is going to be the people who are headlining. So yeah, like that's still kind of like being decided upon, but input is always welcome, even from anybody that's, in the chat. Like you guys, by all means, reach out to Unfuck America Tour, hit me up on Instagram or here on TikTok, and, send me your ideas. If you think there's something that's happening in your area that could be a really good idea for us, I mean, shit, we'll consider it. Why not?
Sweet. What's up, Josh? Saw you in the YouTube chat. Okay, well that's cool. Also, if you're in the chat right now, go to the link in my bio. The top 3 links are all the UFA links you could ever need. First one's going to be the donation link to the tour. It's my donation link, okay? So it registers for me. Like, I get the credit for soliciting the fucking donations, okay? So if you like me, go use my link. No, I'm kidding. Donate however you want, okay? But use mine. And then the volunteer link is in there if you just want to help out. If you ain't got like a lot of spare cash, if the bank is not packed, which is totally understandable in this dog shit ass economy. But if that's your sitch, the volunteer link is there, and that is also extremely helpful. And then also the link to buy tickets to the Phoenix event, AmFest, that's going to be humongo. So be there. You should do it. But that's it. That's it for me. You got anything else?
No, that's good, man.
Okay, well, it's been fun, guys. It's been fun seeing you guys here. Hopefully this week we'll actually have another stream that isn't just this. I keep promising that to come back to streaming, and then I just keep not fucking doing it. So hopefully this will be the week. Probably won't because it's Thanksgiving and I'm gonna have family in town, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'll definitely
already casting doubt.
Yeah, but I'll definitely be back next Monday for another one of these. That's a fact. So it's been fun, guys. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you. We'll be around.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye, guys. See you later. Bye. See you later. Bye. Have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye. 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 All right, YouTube people. How's it going? Yeah, sorry I just ignored you guys the entire time, by the way. I just want to point that out. I apologize for it. But when I'm in the middle of a conversation, we're having discussions, it feels weird. It's not that I couldn't do it. I could, but it feels weird to like stop a convo with a guy. We're going back and forth. I'm making my points. He's making his point, and I go, hold on 1 second. Hey, what's up, guy? I see Jay in the chat, fucking Paul Escape in the chat. What's up? What's up, everybody? Like, just like I don't know. It's not that I couldn't do it. It just feels weird. I like to, when I'm talking to a person, I like to just focus on them. Usually, when I'm talking to somebody, I just stare at the center of my screen, and I don't read chat. I don't fucking look at shit because I want to give them my undivided attention. So I could talk to you guys more, but it feels weird to ignore the person I'm talking to talk to chat. It just, I don't know. Maybe that feeling will go away over time as I get more used to all of this, everything. I get just streaming in general. We'll see how that goes, but I don't know. It's a weird feeling to me to like put a convo with a guy that I'm actively having on the back burner to talk to chat. There's some circumstances where I feel like I wouldn't have a choice. Like if there's like a big donation or like a membership or something, like you got to acknowledge that. You have to say something. You have to. So in that circumstance, that's different. But yeah, when it's just like chat in general, I don't know, it feels weird. But I don't know. That's it for the stream. Again, I will definitely be back next Monday to do another one of these. That's a fact. But hopefully there will be more stream. Hopefully that's not the only stream you're going to get from me this week. I plan on streaming more. Again, it's Thanksgiving, family in town. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I hope. We'll see. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you, truly. And hopefully I'll be back sooner than next Monday, but if not, next Monday for sure, 100%. Okay? See ya. It's been fun. Thanks. Bye. Bye. See you later. Bye.